All right, welcome to Optional Dialogue, episode 95. Once again, I'm your host, Sebastian, and I'm joined by Dory and Mitch. And today, we're going to talk about several new games that came out this year. So, like our first new games to talk about. And some games are remasters. The Last of Us Part 2. We're going to talk about the new Turnip Boy that Dory has been playing on Steam. And I'm going to talk about Palworld, which is also taking over the world right now on Steam.
I've actually been playing Turnip Boy on Game Pass, just for clarification.
Oh, okay, and it's on pace to actually beat Baldur's Gate 3 in terms of concurrent players on Steam, which is crazy. It's one of the highest played games ever already. So that's insane. Top 10 game. I think it's the top 10 of all time.
I'll need to hear more about this then, because I know nothing.
Well, then we have the show for you, Mitch.
Yeah.
The anticipation is killing me.
And then Mitch is going to talk about the Suicide Squad demo in detail. Mm-hmm. He hit on it a bit. He hit on it a little bit last week, but now we're going to go full on detail. Yeah. It comes out 2 more weeks, I think. So.
Yeah. I was going to say
just about.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
And then finally, we had an Xbox Direct, which was pretty good in my opinion, and which we're going to talk about. There was a lot of big announcements, or not announcements, but like showcases of games we already knew about. And we finally got to see the Indiana Jones games, but we'll talk about that later. So let's start with Turnip Boy Robs a Bank. That's the sequel. It's the first one. Dory, how are you liking the game so far?
Your boy is back, robbing a bank instead of committing tax evasion. So I loved Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion. It was really good. I played it last year. A bit of a dungeon crawler, kind of mimicking those earlier Legend of Zelda experiences, but with a reverent, kind of ironic, but wholesome-ish humor. Very internet. I guess what I'd say is internet culture humor. Lots of people calling other people senpai and talking about simps, and it's very like deep in slang and stuff like that. But I think it works. It's funny. It's very funny to see these cute characters wielding these incredible weapons and talking all this kind of smack to each other. There is actually a story. It's kind of like Adventure Time in a way, in terms of the story. And if you know, you know. And if you don't know, go watch Adventure Time. But I mean, basically the sequel takes place a mere few days after the first game. So this isn't too much. You also get asked right at the beginning if you have played the first game. So if you don't know what the hell's going on and why Turnip Boy is robbing a bank, although they basically explain why, then yeah, I mean, the basics are the 101 is that there's been a civil war and this huge ass bank is here and is kind of like dispossessing a lot of other people. It's not really a charity object, a charity action or whatever. Turnip Boy is basically doing this to get in good with the pickle gang, which, yes, is a mafia made entirely out of pickles. But yeah, there's some radishes too. But regardless, the main gameplay here is a roguelite. It's a very accessible roguelite, I will say. I mean, there's literally a checkbox that says God mode. And then right under it, it says Turnip Boy was made to be played by as many people as possible. If you are having trouble, please feel free to click one of these options. So it's not, it's not even Hades level of like in terms of difficulty. I would say it's easier than Hades, and obviously Hades was tough, but I mean, pretty accessible as well. I would say it's even more accessible than that. I think some people who like their hardcore roguelites would be disappointed by this game. It took me 5 or 6 tries to beat the first boss, and then maybe 2 tries to beat the second boss. Part of that is becoming familiar with the system. Basically what it is, you go into the bank, an elevator takes you to a random level with random enemies, so hence the roguelite nature. You can get permanent upgrades at your base via the dark web, everybody's favorite part of the internet. And you can also get particular enhancement pills, which again is what the game calls it. Again, always as the turnip guy who's selling it to you says, always good, never bad. So again, very silly humor in this game. But yeah, those give you permanent buffs too. You can get some temporary weapons through a run, and you can get obviously money throughout the bank. But if you die, you lose a portion of it. You don't even lose all of it. I am playing on casual. I'm not playing. There's only 2 modes basically, casual or I don't think it's called hardcore, but basically like a hard mode. So that's worth noting. But I wanted a casual experience. I'm not really playing this game for the difficulty, and I would say it's not like brain dead. On you don't have a ton of health, so that's the big thing. And obviously, when you start the game, you're not hitting super hard. Yeah, I mean the game's really funny. It's only I'd say probably 4 to 5 hours, so I'm already like halfway through it. I put in like 2 hours, maybe a little more. Game Pass says 2 hours 18, but that's probably a little over exaggerated because I left it at the pause screen for a bit. It's a cute, funny game. If you like roguelites, I think you'll like this. If you like the first Turnip Boy, you'll probably like this. You don't have to play the first Turnip Boy to understand what's going on. But there is some story here that is connected to the first game. And if you want to know the deep lore and whatnot, you're probably best to go back and play the first game, which is also a great game and also very funny and wholesome. So yeah, I don't know if you guys have any questions, but it's a pretty fun game. I will say my only big criticism of it so far is just that the aiming can be a little bit off. But again, there are accessibility options. They give you aim assists. They give you auto hit, or not auto hit, but like auto target and stuff like that, like lock-on features to make it easier if you're struggling. So like I said, highly accessible roguelite with a bit of story, and it's not super long. It's maybe 4 or 5 hours. Obviously, it just came out, so your mileage may vary, and I'm not sure exactly how long. But I heard from IGN it's about 4 hours long. The price is about $11, $12, which is really not bad at all. It's like 15%, 20% off because it just came out, which is kind of weird as a sale idea. The game just came out and it's already on sale. But whatever. Yeah, I mean, you can buy this on Steam if you want, but I just played on Game Pass, and it's pretty fun so far. All the reviews are pretty positive, but there are only a few reviews since the game just came out. Yeah, it's got 38 reviews and 4.2. The only there's some 1 stars, but I suspect that's political. Because the game is not shy about its politics. In fact, the first boss that you fight seems very similar to a former president. But I'm sure that's just a coincidence. But anyway, so it's not shy at all about its politics and about its messaging. I'm not saying it's like in your face about it, but it's funny about it, and it's very explicit about. For example, I just did a side quest where I was helping this. You can do side quests in the bank, and it's managed on your tasks and stuff. But basically, there was this one character who wanted to get paid for this portrait they did for this big streamer, and the streamer eventually paid them in exposure bucks. So, not shy about taking in a very kind of cartoony, funny way. But yeah, it's a fun little roguelike game. I don't think it's winning any awards or anything, but I think it's a nice January release. It's pretty stress-free, and if you are struggling with it, you can adjust the difficulty at any time, and there's a whole bunch of accessibility options. So I don't really see, besides people who want like a hardcore roguelite, I don't really see who this couldn't be for. Yeah, I'm having a good time with it. It's not blowing me away or anything, but I love that they were, I don't know, brave, I guess, enough to change genres, because usually a sequel would just improve on the genre from the first game, but this one actually completely switches the genre. Like I said, the first game was more original Legend of Zelda dungeon crawler kind of thing, but this one is roguelite, or at least a lot of roguelite elements.
Gotcha.
So would you say it's comparable to, like, I don't know, like old Yakuza's, and then Yakuza Like a Dragon in that sense? But
Yeah,
it's like,
kind of.
cool.
Yeah, because it's completely
like it's
switched
different,
genres.
but it's it's like it's different genres, but it still feels like the same.
Yes,
thing,
it's different. It's different genres, but it's the same vibe. It's still the same humor from the first game. A lot of the same characters. The narrative is continued straight on from the first game. So really, all that's changed is just it's a genre change. I think the combat's a bit better. It's a bit tighter than it was in the first game. The boss fights feel more fair. I will say that was one of my criticisms of the first game. The bosses seemed a little overpowered, and I was a little frustrated. But I've also heard the game gets easier as you go in terms of boss fights and in terms of like in general. But so there could be a difficulty curve the other way around, which I don't know. I don't know. That's not the first boss is really tough because you're just kind of coming in with a leaf for a sword and a pistol, basically. And so somehow you gotta kill this guy who's got a rapid fire machine gun. So it's tough. But it gets easier as you go. Just like most roguelites, honestly.
Yeah, fair.
All right. Do you have anything more to add before we move on?
Yeah, definitely give this a try. I think it's fun so far. Again, not blowing me away, but I like what I'm seeing and I like what I'm playing. At first, it was a little repetitive. First, 30 minutes, I think, took a little time to get going. I doubt it'll be on my top 10, but maybe it'll be in my special mentions or something like that. It's a good game, maybe a great game, and I think it deserves to get more love and more attention from people. I know it just came out, but go and give it a shot. And if you're not enjoying it, try some accessibility options, or maybe try the more difficult mode.
All right. So speaking of roguelike modes, The Last of Us Part 2 has a new mode in it, the remaster. It's called the No Return. I've been playing that a little bit, not that much, but like enough to talk about it. And Mitch has played the campaign a bit, right?
Yes, I have a wildly nuanced take and perspective on this game, where I've just been playing the base campaign again.
Nice.
On Permadeath actually, which I posted it to Threads, which is
so fucking funny.
Probably my most popular post actually, which is pretty funny, which I'm glad to. But I'm only on Permadeath per chapter, thankfully. Oh Jesus. But I was playing probably the worst chapter to replay through, which is the open world Seattle area on day one as Ellie, where you have to, if you want to, because I'm trying to get all the collectibles and everything as well, so I'm having to literally pick through everything. I can't just speed run through to the to get the pieces of gas. So I was just kind of walking along casually, and I was like, all right, it's probably a 5 to 8 foot drop. Ellie's done, I've been doing drops like this all game so far. This isn't too bad. So I start just nonchalantly looking up to the side, and then I just fall to my death, and screen fades to black, and then just a couple agonizing seconds later, the Permadeath failed screen comes up, and at first I'm like, oh okay, I died, but it's okay, because it's fine. It's like, what am I playing on, Permadeath? And then the Permadeath screen came up, and I'm like, oh no, and it was 55 minutes of progress that I lost.
Ouch.
So initially I turned it off, but then I'm like, no, screw that. I'm not leaving it there for tonight. I'm not letting that be be the last thing I do. So I went back. I stayed up till midnight midnight just to go through and finish that chapter, because I'm like, screw this. No way am I leaving it there.
Honestly, I hope Seb just includes that clip. I don't know if that would be too much editing, but I would love to see that clip just. It was very funny. I'm giving Seb more work, but yeah, it would be very funny.
Anyways, campaign wise, it's held up. Yeah, it's held up still really well. It's on one of those. It's one of those games that I play annually, essentially. So I've still got it semi fresh in my mind. It's definitely one of those games that's all about perspective, and I mean not literally just in the story itself. Even as a player, coming into it, from the perspective of somebody who's already beat it and who already knows all the twists and turns and where everything's going, it's just one of those games that's packed with details and little bits of foreshadowing here and there that it's always fun to. It's always fun to hypothesize, oh, knowing what I know now, you know, what does this mean, or like what could they possibly have been thinking here? And yeah, the big, I mean, it's basically already all over the internet anyways, but I'm not going to say it here. The big upset that happens early on still hurts like a motherfucker. I was like, you know, just kind of casually going through the game, like, oh yeah, you know, this is fine, and then like that scene happened, and I was just in a bad mood after that. I was in a bad mood.
That sums up the game.
I
really.
don't even know why. Yeah, it's like well, it's like because I'm like I knew what was going to happen. I've been through it like at least 3 times already, and that's not even including all the internet discourse stuff that happened over it. Like I'm like, I know what's going to happen, and it's still just hurt, and especially the level after that, where you have to, you know, go and collect some things at their house. It's just,
yeah.
I was just kind of walking around, just like, this really bums me out, man. And but then, you know, like half an hour later, that's when you get to start killing some infected and stuff again. So that's good, at least.
Right.
More mindless violence always helps, you know, calm the nerves.
Somebody take that out of context.
Personally for me, I don't plan on playing the campaign yet until the PC version comes out, which I'm assuming it should be this year, I would think.
Did you get did you bother about getting the plat to auto pop, or not too worried about that?
I got most of the trophies to auto pop, but 2 of them didn't pop, and I don't care enough to go chase it. So
yeah.
If I was playing on PlayStation right now, then I'd probably replay whatever to get it. But nah, I'm not bothered. But I just wanted, you know, an itch to try the roguelike mode, because the roguelike mode is basically all about combat only. It's not like Valhalla where it's like story driven. It's just straight up. It's like Mercenaries mode in Resident Evil 4. It's like there's no story driving it. It's just have full on gameplay. Shoot things, you know. Stealth kill things
for fun, basically.
For fun.
It's for fun.
Yeah, it's not the greatest roguelite I ever played, but like, since the gameplay is the best part of the game in my opinion, because I've said in the podcast before that this is still the gameplay is still the greatest third person shooter of all time in terms of like gameplay wise. Like, I think it's just so smooth. That's where this game, the roguelike, really shines. But it's not something I feel like I'm gonna. I haven't gotten into it as much as like Valhalla, but it might be because like I'm just not in the mood to play PlayStation right now, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just haven't.
No, I get that.
I'm just not in the mood to play Last of Us right now, Part 2.
Yeah.
So.
No, I'm.
Yeah.
I feel that sometimes. Yeah, there's been times where like a new game's come out and I'm just not in the right.
Yeah.
I guess frame of mind or just frame of mind to go about it.
Yeah.
One thing I will say is that this is odd. This may be odd coming from me because like I just gassed up The Last of Us Part 2 whatever chance I can get, but I do not know why the, you know, like journalists and like, you know, like all the big gaming outlets have been trying to, you know, like jazz up and make like such a big deal about this remaster. Like I've seen video thumbnails like The Last of Us Part 2 remaster changes everything, and like obviously like, you know, some of it's going to be hyperbole for what you call it, like clickbait and whatnot, but like even just like IGN and GameSpot and like some of their like previews and just features on this game, like they're just gassing it up so much, and they're like, so it's like, oh my god, it looks so much better and it's amazing, and it's like, I mean, sure, like if you're playing it on a 4K screen, a 4K OLED screen, you've got, you know, full surround sound, and you're playing it in like the biggest theater possible. Sure, the game's probably going to look a bit better, but for most people, I suspect it's really not going to look all that much different. Like, if I squint enough, maybe I can potentially see a couple of added details and you know, wrinkles to people's skin and stuff. But it's basically like graphically speaking and technically speaking, it's practically the same game. Like it's not a remaster in the sense that like, oh, you know, it's not the definitive. It's the definitive way to play the game, but it's also not. if that makes sense.
It's not the
it's
remake.
definitive...
Yeah, it's not part 1.
No, it's like it's the definitive way to play it.
Yeah.
Really, only in the sense that you get more stuff with it. Like you get the no return roguelite, or you get the lost levels, or like other stuff like that. It like if people don't care about any of that extra stuff and they just want to play the main game, it's not going to matter to them.
Right.
I
agree.
You know.
So
yeah.
So No Return, you play as 10 different characters. Pretty much every main character in the game you can play as. They all have their own special traits, you know. So you start off as Ellie, and obviously then you do certain tasks there is 6 levels, 6 encounters. So they vary. Sometimes
so, yeah.
you fight either humans or you fight the infected, and you do certain things and you unlock the new characters. So it is very much so like a mercenaries mode in Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, that's the vibe I got from it.
Yes, although it's not as like chaotic, like because mercenaries mode in Resident Evil 4 is like hundreds of enemies are coming at you and stuff. It's like constant action.
Yeah.
Why this game is like you get like 4 enemies at a time, and then there's like a 15-second, 20-second delay.
Okay.
And then you get another 15.
So is there?
Enemies. Yep.
Like by the end of like a run, does it get to be that intense where it's like, you know, dozens of enemies on screen at once when you have to just kind of like frantically run around and survive, or is it always fairly, you know, not so much easy, but like fairly accessible and doable?
It feels doable. It feels like if you're playing a regular game, like even in the regular game, there's never like 20 enemies at you, like unless you're like full on running into like a giant group or something. It's always like 4 or 5, and like every time you kill enemies in a round, you get like a little chest, and you have to run towards it to pick up it gives you like ammo and stuff. And if you take too long, it disappears, so you have to be very fast with it. Yeah. So you can tackle it in different ways. You can just be aggressive and fight the enemy, or you can stealth kill them. Although you get timed, so you get like a score at the end. So how well how much damage you took, if it hurts you, and how fast you completed it determines your grade and stuff. So
okay.
And you can also get like a partner sometimes too. Like when you're Ellie, you get Dina with you. She helps. Cool. And the AI is pretty good.
That's good.
Yeah, so it's not chaotic. It's not a crazy like roguelike where there's like hundreds of enemies. It's definitely not mercenaries mode. Which I guess maybe that's disappointing. I don't know. It feels like Last of Us. I mean, like more so than anything.
Yeah, like The Last of Us has always been more tactical action. It's never been Resident Evil 4 or like any kind of like Resident Evil Mercenaries where like you're constantly having to, like, Resident Evil is more about resource management, whereas like Last of Us is about like stealth and strategies and like using items. Yes. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Plus,
so like it probably wouldn't fit if it was just direct 1-to-1. I suppose like it'd be fun.
Yeah,
I'd love to do it, but I just don't think it'd fit.
Plus, I don't think difficulty matters because you can choose any difficulty you want. You can play on the highest difficulty, like in the campaign, or you play on the lowest. I don't think it matters. I think you get the same progression no matter what. So it's just a matter.
Okay.
So I'd probably recommend people play normal to easy, just because there's just no benefit to playing on like a grounded mode for a roguelike, and it'd probably be frustrating unless you want the challenge. It's up to you, but I don't believe there's any advantage of getting a higher difficulty, because like I think in Valhalla, if you got a higher difficulty, you got higher reward.
Yeah.
And then I think that's pretty much it in terms of the roguelike mode.
Did you get around to the lost levels or anything like that at all? Because I haven't.
No, I haven't
personally. Like,
no,
I haven't. Yeah, fair.
Like I said, I plan on playing this on PC when it comes out. Like, cause I feel like it's gonna come out this year, and that's when I'll really jump into like the campaign and stuff. I figured $10. I want to try out the roguelike mode. My only thing is like, roguelike is starting to become the new fad of the gaming industry, where it's like everything was like Fortnite, and now everything was a battle royale, and now everything's roguelike, and it's like I hope I like roguelike here and there, but I don't want like every game to have like a roguelike mode now, and especially PlayStation. So it's like it will get old after a while. So
Definitely.
It's not the best roguelike I've ever played. Like,
I mean,
there's better roguelites. It's worth the $10 if you really love the gameplay, and most people do. So I think people are gonna be happy with it. But it's not a game I would pay full price for if I never played Last of Us Part 2.
No.
Well, I mean, if it's the first time I ever played The Last of Us Part 2, then yeah, I would pay $60. But if it's like, or $70. But if it was like, I played it 3 years ago and beat it, but like I want to get the remaster and I can't upgrade, I wouldn't pay full price for this. No. It's not that big of a jump.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the preview for the Lost Levels. I think IGN did a couple videos on it. I only watched one of them. And it was interesting. They talked a lot about, obviously cut content. There's developer commentary. There are varying forms of unfinished levels where the devs talk about like what the thought process was, why it got dropped. There's stuff that stood out to me, especially of they were going to have this whole section where Ellie was going to walk around town and there's going to be this whole festival. And it kind of reminded me of the is it Ellis Island? Which island is it? The Spider-Man 2 part where he and Harry
Coney Island.
Whoa. Coney Island, yeah. So it's kind of like the Coney Island segment of Spider-Man 2 in a way, where I don't think Ellie's with anybody at that point, because I think it's in between flashbacks. But she is kind of playing various games. That's how you win that bear that you see at the farm later on. But that got cut, but the bear got mated anyway. I think it was a bear. It was an elephant. It was an elephant stuffy. But you get to see it later on the farm. And then they had a part where Ellie is crawling through a tunnel and there's like a flash or something and she sees Joel's head instead of a clicker's head. But they decided they wanted to move the PTSD scene up until the farm later on. And then one last thing I noticed is that they in the kind of Coney Island-esque segment, they were going to have lots of various games to teach you how to play TLU2, but with lower stakes, obviously. So, you'd be blindfolded, but you'd be trying to find quote unquote clickers, and you'd be trying to aim at like various, a ball at cups and stuff like that. So it was cool. It was interesting, and hearing the train of thought was interesting too. Like I said, I didn't listen to the comprehensive IGN video that listed all of them, but if you want to, you can go online. It's free.
Yeah, I haven't. I
thought it was cool.
Yeah, no, I think like Lost Levels is definitely just cool in general,
and it's not something the AAA developers usually do. So I think it's neat that Naughty Dog is doing that. I honestly think it's probably the most neat thing.
After seeing how like on other platforms like TikTok and all that recently, where I don't know people like unearthed like a cut boss fight from Spider-Man 2 or something, and everyone was like, "Oh, this game was so rushed; it needed like 6 more months of development time." I think it's clear that no one actually understands how the game development process works.
Yeah,
and that sometimes things are cut not for time, but just because they don't work.
Yep.
So it's good to see, like, yeah, basically exactly what you said. Like, it's good to see with the Lost Levels here, and even with we've got the Grounded 2 documentary coming out soon, finally.
Yep, true.
And like same thing with the Raising Kratos documentary, which I rewatched a couple of weeks back. I'm really happy that however sparingly they do it, I'm glad that PlayStation, out of everyone, seemed to be putting occasionally seem to like put a really sharp focus on the development process and what it's actually like for devs and how to make these things. Because even just like rewatching Raising Kratos, I was just like, it was just kind of like, oh, holy shit, it's it's like that. It's not all sunshines and rainbows, which obviously it wouldn't be, but like it was a very real approach to how things are made, and it was super enlightening.
Yeah, so is there anything else we want to hit on before we move on?
Not really. There's a guitar-free mode, but
yeah. All right.
I'm just waiting for someone to play Through the Fire and the Flame on the Last of Us guitar.
That's got to be on there.
That's had to be done by now, I think, right?
Surely.
There's only so the original you can play, though.
Yeah, true. But I mean, what you call it? Like, if damn it, if Fortnite can implement a Guitar Hero mode, why can't The Last of Us?
Maybe in part 3, or maybe
Maybe
instead of the multiplayer game, that was what we're getting. We're getting a Last of Us
it's
musical,
just
the musical game.
the reason it was cancelled is because they put all their resources into this guitar mini game, and then Fortnite came out with their Guitar Hero
They're
ripoff,
like,
and they're like, screw it, we can't
Damn
do it
They
anymore.
beat us to it.
They beat us to it. We got to cancel
Oh
it.
my god! Imagine there's like Last of Us factions, like the musical game. That's what it was the whole time. It's a Guitar Hero clone.
Well, I'm at, or either that, or it's like Yakuza karaoke, just with the Last of Us characters.
And it's like Ashley Johnson and Troy Baker singing.
Yeah, that'd actually. Fuck, that's actually. I'd actually love to see that. Unironically, I'd love to see. I want to see that now.
They probably would do that too.
They would. Or like, yeah. Anyways, moving on.
All right, so moving on, we're gonna talk about the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League demo. Mitch is now allowed to talk about it. So
yes,
without getting sniped or arrested. So go ahead.
Yeah,
well,
there was a knock at his door a few weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, that's right. I just kind of paid them off, and then they left me alone for a bit. So
all that money he's got. Yep.
Yeah. All the money I'm getting now from talking semi good about the game is finally coming into fruition. So yeah, I'm able to pay off any snipers and lawyers that want to come and get me. Anyways, so yeah, I played. It was like early December, I think it was, or late November, early December. I had mixed thoughts on it to start with, and then I've kind of loosened on them over time. Like I'm now more mixed positive. Might be optimism more than anything else, but hey, we'll see how we go come a couple weeks time. Biggest thing I want to hit on right out the bat, just to kind of set the tone, is that this game is essentially just Marvel's Avengers 2.0 for better and for worse. They've literally, it feels like they've literally taken everything that people complained about with that game and they implemented that feedback here, ironically enough. Like, there's a fully seamless open world, so like there's no, you don't have to take a break every time you finish a mission, or like you're not returned to a hub world. There's a lesser focus on like gear score and like the looter elements. So like apparently, I mentioned this last week, but one of the reasons they delayed it for so long was because they completely took out anything relating to like gear score and like, constantly scaling loot and stuff. So the way I understand it now is that whenever you get a piece of loot or an item, that can stay with you the whole time. So like the main thing that changes between rarities and stuff is basically, what perks or what what ability slots you might have for it, for example. So obviously, like, still the higher tiered or rarity is going to be better, of course, but damage scaling wise, you can still use, like common or uncommon items and still be fine, essentially, from what I understand. Best way I understand it is probably like Assassin's Creed Mirage or Assassin's Creed Valhalla. That's probably the best way that I can understand it. It's like, or even Far Cry 6. It's like, there are set items of loot and you basically, like, the only randomized part about it is that you just pick them up whenever you find them, and like that can stay with you the whole time, which is good because Avengers was, I think, one of the core issues about Avengers being an RPG to begin with was that you were playing, like Earth's mightiest heroes, but if you went even slightly underleveled into a mission, you were basically just button mashing against like little tin can robots for like an eternity, which kind of defeats the purpose. So good that Rocksteady have taken the time to implement that feedback, I suppose. There's also, from what I've played of the alpha, there seems to be quite expansive, like, sort of talent trees and stuff for characters. I didn't get that far into it, so I was only able to explore a little bit of it. It seems all right early on so far, but I think it's going to be one of those games where you have to like, you know, properly get into it a little bit more, and then you'll kind of be able to see some of the effects of how the talent trees work. Other big thing is that like all the traversal wise, at least all the characters do feel pretty distinct from one another. But best way I can probably describe like the traversal and even just the tone overall of this game is, and I kind of predicted this like the second we got the first gameplay trailer, but Sunset Overdrive, that's probably the best comparison I have for this game.
That's what I see too.
It's very, it's very traversal focused. You're constantly on the move, which for better and for worse. Some of the characters I think are easier to control than others, like probably Harley Quinn because she has like this bat drone that she can like swing and grapple on anywhere, and she has like, you know, the grapple hook, so she's basically the closest thing to original Arkham Batman traversal wise, I suppose, because she can like, you know, grapple and then launch herself off of like sort of building tops and stuff and gain momentum from there. Deadshot has a jetpack that, you know, you can fly around on. It's pretty straightforward. King Shark, you just basically jump, and you can jump super high or super far. Captain Boomerang's probably the most unique in the sense that he has this Speed Force boomerang gauntlet thing where basically if you hold R1, he'll like sort of throw out a boomerang a certain distance, and then you keep holding the R1 button until it reaches a certain distance, and then it'll basically, you release R1 and it'll just kind of instantly zip you to that point the boomerang was thrown to. So it's I played a little bit around with each of them. I found probably King Sharks was probably the easiest to, you know, kind of get used to and the easiest to traverse with, at least early on. I played a bit with Captain Boomerang near the end, and I actually, once I did get the hang of it, his was quite fun. Deadshot was you know, it was here and there. It was kind of boring. Harley Quinn, I've heard, can be very fast and very overpowered late game, so I'm interested to see how that goes. I think the biggest problem with it early on, at least from what I played, is that it just feels a lot less refined than Sunset Overdrive did, because like in Sunset Overdrive, like it's a mixture of, you know, bouncing between objects, and you have to like grind and run along walls and rails and stuff, so it's like it's very physics based, you know, where it's like your character has a certain weight to them and you have to keep up your momentum that way. In Suicide Squad, you still have to keep up your momentum, but like you keep momentum by basically, you know, like you're flying or jumping around or whatever for like maybe 3 to 5 seconds, and then you cool down meter basically just, you know, like you overheat essentially, and then you have to, you know, sort of like touch the ground or a surface to cool it basically. Now they do have like a sliding mechanic, so probably best example is with Deadshot. He can probably fly continuously with his jetpack for about 3 to 5 seconds. It overheats, so you have to, you know, touch the ground. But if you time it right, you can basically slide, keep your momentum, and then it instantly sort of cools down all your jetpack fuel, and then you can just keep on going from there. So it has the potential to be quite a fun traversal system. It's kind of think of it as like Anthem, essentially, where like you're the god. Oh god, I just invoked Anthem. Anyways,
well, the Anthem's traversal was not the bad part of the game. Like that was true. That's what people like.
Yeah, true. Well, yeah, basically, in relation to Deadshot, especially, think of it like Anthem, where you have a cooldown on like your thrusters or like your traversal ability, and then like you had to do certain things. Like in that game, it was going through waterfalls, or you had to like, you know, fly directly down. And it's kind of like that with this. It's like, you know, you basically have to go between just sort of like, you know, traversing or like flying through the air directly, and then you have to, you know, kind of like make brief contact with the ground where you can still maintain your momentum. So I feel like it's going to be hit or miss for a lot of people early on. It has the potential to be something really special, though, I think. It's hard to say because early on the cooldowns are so short and limiting, and just not a turn off, but it's also not like, it's not the best first impression to have.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Anyways,
Oh,
really quick, does it feel weird that these are the characters they picked to have so much traversal?
Yeah, yes and no. Like, probably the most out of place is Captain Boomerang, but even then, it's like you kind of get used to it pretty quickly. Like, maybe it's just because like I've like this game, like I've not been following, but like they've been showing off this game for years at this point, so like I'm now fully used to the idea that, oh yeah, Captain Boomerang can zip around with the Speed Force like the Flash.
Also, does
maybe,
he?
So maybe it's
Yeah.
what what's that syndrome? Stockholm syndrome. Maybe it's Stockholm syndrome with Rocksteady in this game. Maybe that's what it is.
And does he have a legitimate Australian accent, or does it feel like an American?
Oh, it is. He is. I have never wanted to punch a character more in a video game. Australian or otherwise, I have never wanted to punch a character. He is so fucking annoying.
Is he Australian or is he American? Neither. He's unlikable.
Like he's. I don't even like it. Take a Crocodile Dundee, and then he's basically his drunk uncle that is technically American, but he likes to put on an Australian accent to mock him about it. That's what Captain Boomerang is in this game. I've seen a lot of people praise like the writing of the squads, bickering and back and forth. I found it most comparable to like the Guardians of the Galaxy game, where like sometimes it sometimes it's good, and like definitely gets a chuckle out of me sometimes, but a lot of the other time it's like I'm just like, can they please just shut the fuck up? I'm just trying to play the game. Stop talking.
Yeah, I've heard this definitely has the Guardians of the Galaxy issue, although perhaps even more present, where characters will just talk over each other multiple times.
Oh well, no, I think Guardians of the Galaxy is still worse in like just the sheer volume of dialogue going on, but it's like there's less of it, but it's also more annoying. Like it's intentionally more grating, and it fits the characters because obviously they're the bad guys. They're not supposed to be all buddy and good or stuff, but like it's like there's less of it, but it's just slightly more annoying, if that makes sense. Or it's annoying for different reasons. I'll put it that way. One thing I will say on the characters as well is that the game is surprisingly story focused. Like at least early on, like it took me about like as someone who is like taking their time. Like I was like inspecting the Hall of Justice and like going to. Which, by the way, like one of the first areas you go to in the intro is like the Hall of Justice, and it's like if you're a DC nerd or like even just an Arkham fan and just like want to get like all the lore and insights to like what the characters are like and what they've been up to, you'll love that segment. Like there's just a ton of displays that like it's contextualized as like it's a museum that they're opening up for like school children and like the general public to see. So you've got like Superman voiced by Nolan North, of course. You've got Superman going like, "Hello kids, this is the Hall of Justice and we're the Justice League and we're all together," and stuff. Like it's like in that kind of showboating way, but it's contextualized really well, and it's I don't know why it's like it's so corny, but like you just kind of love to see like it gave me like classic Justice League vibes from like the cartoons and stuff of like how they're supposed to be, if that makes sense. And then I think that's kind of contrasted really well against obviously what we find out right after that, where it's like, oh, the Justice League have gone crazy or they've been brainwashed or whatever, and they're killing people left and right. So and obviously Kevin Conroy features quite a bit in this game.
Did they make Poison Ivy a child? But what's going on with that? Why is she a kid?
I didn't actually get up to that part in the alpha. They cut it off before that. From what I can see though, it's like I know it's kind of like how to describe it. I was about to use Baby Yoda as a comparison.
Is
No,
it like
forget
baby?
that.
Is it like Groot that died and then like Bruce reborn?
Yes, that's it. That's exactly it. That's it.
Okay.
It's basically the Baby Groot situation where it's like
Okay.
the main one died, and then she basically is like, you know, reincarnated, but is different.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So from what I've seen, it's like she's a child, but she doesn't have any of the memories of the previous Poison Ivy. Like I think from what I saw of the cutscene, she vaguely remembers or like recognizes Harley Quinn and stuff. But then it's like, you know, she's a different character. So like I suppose in, you know, like I'm glad that they at least are keeping that continuity and because I think Poison Ivy's death was probably one of the better moments of Arkham Knight story-wise.
That's right. That's fucking why.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I forgot this. Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, I forgot that this continues on the Arkham fucking thing. Okay.
Yeah. So...
not Arkham Knights, which is set in a totally different universe.
Well, I will actually say as well, the writing is completely different. Like, the writing style is completely different here. Like, obviously in the main Arkham trilogy, like, you know, people were saying, like, you know, bitch and ass and, like, you know, all this stuff left and right, which obviously they're criminals, but, like, you know, it still felt a bit gratuitous. Even for criminals. It's none of that is present here at all. And, like, granted, your enemies are, like, you know, like, basically non-talking aliens for the most part. So you don't have that same level of interaction. But, like, even just, like, between the characters and stuff, it feels... I want to say Marvel... Like, it feels, like, sort of less pointed and jagged, but still it has, like, you know, a lot of the kind of sardonic, dark humor that you like to see from these kind of characters. Like, it feels very James Gunn in, like, Suicide Squad inspired.
I think that's what. I was gonna say that. It feels very much like James Gunn's kind of humor, like colorful Guardian of the Galaxy Marvel humor. The Arkham series is basically '90s Batman, because like the very first game right off the bat is like the original theme song from the Batman theme from 1989, and it has like that dark, it sets it up. It feels, and it's Kevin Conroy, so it feels like a continuation of the '90s Batman.
Yeah.
Why this 100%. Game feels like a continuation of the movie, the Suicide Squad movie, even though it's not. That's what it feels like.
100%. Tonally, it's a pretty big departure, but like at the same time, it's like they kind of contextualize it by the fact of it's 5 years after the events of Arkham Knight. And like it's kind of just it's just well known and like well accepted by this point that Batman's Bruce Wayne and he did fake his death for some reason and was using fear toxin or something for a little bit, but now he's Batman again and now he's joined up with the Justice League. So it's like I don't want to say it felt like the writers were just kind of trying to sweep that under the rug because they obviously wrote themselves into a bit of a bind with the ending of Arkham Knight. But it feels with the way they kind of like explain it and talk about it. It feels like the difference in tone feels well deserved or well justified, if that makes sense. It's not like going from it's not like if The Last of Us Part 1 was like Uncharted. Oh no, it's not like going from like the first few Uncharted games to The Last of Us Part 2, if that makes sense. It's The Last of Us Part 2 to the first few Uncharted games. You know what I mean? Anyways, to start winding this up, I do want to say as well that Batman's kind of introduction cutscene or like his entire level, I can 100% see that being what a lot of people are going to be buzzing about early on. It's basically a reverse Predator scenario where essentially you as the bad guys are being actively stalked and hunted by Batman, and it's like it's in the dark. You've only got like these little flashlights and you're kind of like stuck in this like little museum area thing. And then basically you're trying to just escape and get to the exits, and then like all of a sudden like you're just hearing Batman just like rappelling up above you, and eventually like sort of just beats the shit out of you out of nowhere. And it's I don't want to call it scary, but like it's definitely it it was an oddly nostalgic throwback to be like, oh shit, this is what it feels like.
Now, Mitch, the most important question: can you, as a criminal, shoot out gargoyles?
I didn't actually get to see any gargoyles in this game, unfortunately.
Could you imagine if they made
it's
it?
like it was all going up above you. It'd be great though if you could.
Could you imagine if they like a Friday the 13th or Evil Dead kind of game where you play as like Batman criminal and you get hunted by Batman? Or
they did
do that when
Arkham Origins multiplayer.
Oh really?
But no one played it.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that.
That's literally what Arkham Origins multiplayer was, and no one played it. And I'm so bummed out that they just cancelled the servers for that because it was so many good memories from that. So many. I think you can still play it on PC actually, but like you have to, I don't know, you have to mod it or something. But like you can still play the multiplayer. I recommend looking up gameplay for it if you're interested. I think Splash Damage actually did the development for that game mode, so it wasn't too bad.
I did rebuy the whole series, so I am going to play the whole series, and then then I will get to the Suicide Squad game. I think at the end, it's like a finale.
Definitely,
we'll see.
Definitely not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Also, like on Batman as well, people have like, you know, now that they can talk about the alpha and like they've seen other gameplay and stuff, people are now realizing or kind of showing the fact that Batman actually kind of stalks you throughout the city at least at certain points in the game. Like I saw this one clip where, you know, the squad were just on a rooftop like sort of talking, you know, during a mission, like, you know, in real time in gameplay, and then like just out in the corner you just saw this like dark figure on a rooftop just like kind of staring at you from afar, and then after a while, you know, like he throws down a smoke bomb and grapples away, and it's like, oh fuck.
It's like Mr. X or Nemesis, but like somehow worse.
Yeah, literally. Like I don't think he's like, I think like gameplay wise he's basically like the Arkham Knight in Arkham Knight, or like any other villain in the Arkham games where like they're just on comms basically talking shit to you the whole time. I think that's what he's mainly going to be, but like it's cool for like at least in certain moments like he's visible in game in the world.
Did you get to fight the Flash or any boss fights or anything like that?
No boss fights. I did. There was like one of the like early story missions was basically you know like you've just exited the Hall of Justice, and like you're just seeing like what the fuck is going on with like Metropolis and all that, and they're like just trying to get a grasp on the situation. And that at that point you're kind of being, you know, you're taken hostage by Green Lantern. They showed a bit of this off in one of the like Suicide Squad Insider episodes, I think. But basically you're kidnapped by Green Lantern. He's like kind of like just flying you around the city and going like, hey, look at all this fucked up shit we're doing. Look at all these people we're killing and transforming and into monsters and all that. And then Flash kind of like appears because at this point in the game he hasn't actually been corrupted yet. And it's basically like he, you know, starts fighting Green Lantern. So you're basically kind of like on the sidelines watching as the Flash and Green Lantern are fighting and whatnot. And then from there, like, you know, like I think what Green Lantern just absolutely punts the Flash across the city, so you have to go find him, and then you eventually rescue him and like, you know, take shelter in this museum building, and that's where Batman's introduced essentially. And yeah, they're not shying away either about the fact that obviously Batman is killing now. And like he just beats the shit out of the Flash as well, and it's not like it doesn't feel wrong, if that makes sense. Like obviously he's brainwashed and stuff, but it's like I think like it's really well done in the sense that it's, you know, it's like, oh shit, Batman's like, you know, being super violent, he's killing people, but it's like, you know, you can tell, similar to how Arkham Origins kind of showcases his anger, is like, you know, like if he's pushed too far or if he has one really bad day, he'll like, you know, absolutely lose his shit. That's basically what we're seeing in the Suicide Squad. So I'm interested to see more of the story and how that plays out in the future. We'll have to see. But yeah, like I don't want to say I'm excited for the story, but I'm interested to see where it goes. Like I know I know endgame wise, it's already kind of been spoiled that they're going to take some kind of multiverse, or like at least an Elseworld approach to the endgame.
I'm not
where it's
surprised.
Like
They're going to undo this shit somehow.
Yeah, they have to.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
It's
like
gonna be a Flashpoint thing,
especially if they
I
are
imagine.
planning on. Yeah, well, I hope they don't do Flashpoint, because that'd feel like a cop out more than anything else. But like, I mean, like, if anything, I don't. Yeah, like if anything, I don't hate the idea of them killing off, like properly killing off the Justice League here. But then, you know, like if say they find basically like a near identical world where none of this Brainiac shit happened, and like, you know, they still went through all the events of like the main Arkham games and stuff, I'd be fine with that. Like, is it a bit of a cop out? Sure, but like I'd prefer that over the Flash doing his time travel bullshit again. But I don't know. As I said, I'm interested to see how it plays out. But it's gonna be. I think the story, and I mean, all the previews have been saying this as well. But like, the story is surprisingly high quality, and I don't think this is going to be like Avengers as well, where it's like only 8 hours long. Like, I played for like over 3 hours, and I barely scratched the surface of things.
Probably,
so I think
20 something hours. You think?
I'd suspect, like, with the way it was going, I'd suspect it'd land around like the 15 to 20-ish hour mark. That's my guess. I definitely don't think, unless there's just a lot of things that they aren't showing us, I'd be shocked if it's like anywhere upwards of like 30 hours. I'd be shocked.
I'm curious if there's any.
If I think they do go for that long, it's gonna be probably too long.
I'm curious if they're gonna do any like side bosses, like side missions, where there's like the Arkham in the games.
Well, I mean, the Riddler's back. That's like the other big thing that I was surprised about going into the alpha. And I mean, like, again, he's just kind of there for like Riddler trophies, and like, you know, he's got the riddles again, where like you have to, like, you know, he gives you a riddle.
God, they've done that
Boo,
they've done that
away.
So many
Get
times.
A job. Leave her alone.
That's like it's like it's the only thing that Rocksteady can do is the same thing
basically
4 times.
Basically, yeah.
I mean, like, was there other trophies in Origins? Because I know Rocksteady didn't make Origins, so
there were data packs in Origins.
Okay.
So it's like, Origins was like, it was really
Rocksteady
weird,
didn't make that.
Like, there was a bunch of different types of collectibles in Origins, and like, none of them fully made sense. But yeah, like, I mean, like, the funny thing in this game, at least, is that like kind of Riddler just makes like his big grand introduction. Like, he hacks into their comms and stuff. It's like, "Hello, Suicide Squad. I've hacked into your comms, and I've got control of the bombs in your neck, and you must do as I say, or else you'll explode." And they're like, "Yeah, we don't care." like
literally what I would do.
We don't care about this.
Shut up, you incel.
Yeah, and Riddler's like, what do you mean? You know, like I could kill you. You know, like fear me. And they're like, yeah, we don't care about Riddler. I think even Harley said it's like, this is getting old, Edward or Enigma or something, and like that. Like, so it's like the good thing about this though is that, like, I think there's less quantity of them as well. Like, from like, when you enter an area, like, it gives you a readout of like how many like challenge, or like how many items you have to do. And I think it's like, usually, like, on average, I could see, like, you know, anywhere between like, say, 5 to 10 Riddler things per district. Which, compared to like the little dozens, if not hundreds, there'd be in the other Arkham games. So like, it seems like they're cutting back on it a bit.
So it feels like Spider-Man, kind of. Where you have all the that kind of collectibles.
It feels like if you took like the Arkham games but kind of Insomniacified them, if that makes sense. Like, it's kind of like an in-between, I think, of those two approaches.
I think the best move for Rocksteady is to go to the future, so like have Batman sacrifice himself to defeat Brainiac, and then all of a sudden, like, Terry McGinnis finds like the Batman suit, and then Rocksteady makes Batman Beyond video game. I think it's time to do Batman
I feel like
Beyond.
It's funny you mentioned that though, because like, I feel like the one thing I don't hope this game is gonna be is like the Batman show featuring the Suicide Squad.
I don't think it will be.
I love it's like, I love Arkham Batman. I do. Kevin Conroy is amazing, and like, knowing that this is going to be his last performance is definitely bittersweet. But like, I mean, like, he's already got like a surprising amount of presence in the game as it is. I just want to see more from this Superman, to be honest. Because I haven't gotten to see Superman at all in what I played. He's been kept fairly out of the marketing, which I'm glad for. Like I'm glad that they're kind of saving him and keeping what he's doing secret for the most part. But yeah. Also, Wonder Woman in this game, she complete badass. Just gonna put it that way. Literally, like, all she's been doing so far from what I played is she basically because she hasn't been controlled yet, so she's just out in the city trying to save as many people as possible. And then every now and again she just runs into the Suicide Squad and she's like, "What the fuck are you guys doing? Like, get out of here!" No. She just doesn't have time for anyone's shit. And she's just constantly just wailing on the Suicide Squad and just tossing them around and you guys just need to get out of here, leave this to me. You guys are causing enough trouble as it is.
And this one and that is that Wonder Woman game, is the new one, is that connected to this?
I don't know. Apparently they've been kind of coy as to whether it is or not, so I'm interested as to whether it is or not. If it is, it'd make sense why they've been so tight-lipped on it,
and why she's not.
Does that make sense? Because
why she's not brainwashed? Right?
Well, no. More so in the fact that why Monolith hasn't said anything on the game at all, because Suicide Squad's just been pushed so many times that I'm assuming they must have something in a contract where they can't, show off the Wonder Woman game until after Suicide Squad comes out, because story spoilers or whatever.
The thing is, it is odd, and in the Arkham universe where it's very Batman focused, that Superman, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, and the Flash all exist. You know what I mean? Because it feels, because the Arkham games just feel so small, and then all of a sudden we have a world-ending event in the same universe. Well, it just feels odd.
Yeah, no,
it's a big jump.
I agree. I mean, as I said, I think because in that kind of right after you have that Batman section where he beats the shit out of you, you basically have the chance to go through this entire museum, which is literally just a walkthrough of the, well, actually not just the first 3 Arkham games. There's even a bit of Origins in it as well. Basically just a walkthrough of all the entire Arkham trilogy. So they have these pop-up cardboard cutouts, and you can sort of press a button to get someone narrate the events of what happens essentially. And then at the end they basically they go through the events of the ending of Arkham Knight where he blows himself up, and then right after it's after a few years of having after a time of having a mysterious bat vigilante thing, eventually the Justice League was formed, and they soon sort of brought Batman into their fold and brought him back into the spotlight and into humanity and whatnot. So the Justice League didn't form, or at least even exist, until after the events of Arkham Knight. Whether or not any of the other heroes were even properly active before that as well, who knows? There were mentions of it during the Arkham game, so I'm guessing they were. But at least the Justice League, they didn't form until after the events of Arkham Knight. It's as I said earlier, I think it's it's kind of semi-justified in this, where it's with the way that they seem to be operating the Hall of Justice at that point, because I think the game contextualizes it as they were having this big, I think it was the grand opening of the Hall of Justice or something. They were having Justice League Day, so there's banners all around the city of all the different heroes and the Hall of Justice and whatnot.
Which is the opening of the Avengers.
Yeah, basically. And then just as they were getting that underway, Brainiac's ship basically descended and just kills everyone. The game doesn't shy away from the fact that everyone is dead, basically, or if they aren't dead, they're turned into those monsters, which is an irreversible process. So everyone is dead.
There's definitely gonna be a flashpoint. There's definitely gonna be a flash. That's just too big of a jump.
Well, you're definitely retconning this.
I mean,
it's
not everyone on planet Earth. It's as far as I'm aware, it's just contained to Metropolis. But yeah, everyone in Metropolis is dead. I think occasionally you do also hear from Lois Lane, who's I think there's any kind of small survivor packs or whatever. She's kind of broadcasting out to them, which is cool. What?
My only thing is, I'm I'm getting a little tired of like making Superman a villain and also making him like a punk that always gets beat. Like I feel like a lot of shows and movies in the last like 20 years, it's just like either Superman's a villain or Superman just gets his ass kicked. Like he's dead. Like he's supposed to be like this scary like force like for villains. Like he's like this like unstoppable force. Like if he shows up, it's like oh no.
Yeah.
And then I feel like everything I watch, it's always like he gets his ass kicked. And it's like they just never. He's never portrayed as this like legitimate Superman. Now he's always just like But that's just
because like
I guess. But
no, I definitely agree with that. Like you got glimpses of it in like the Hall of Justice bits because like Nolan North like portrays like a pretty spot on like classic Superman, like like optimistic and lighthearted and whatnot. But yeah, again, I think this is like I don't mind the evil Superman trope, but I think this is probably one of the like more egregious examples of it, where it's like, okay, yeah, I feel like we're starting to beat a dead horse now, kind of.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
I feel, as you said, they're gonna undo it somehow. I guess we'll just have to wait to see
Which kind of
how they do it.
Yeah, well, let's see how to do it. It would kind of sours the story for me. If it's like if that's what I fully expect and that's what happens, it's just gonna be like, I saw this coming a mile because there's no suspense when you know what's gonna happen. So.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
Well,
I
mean,
see.
like
maybe they don't. Maybe they don't reverse it and they just end on a sour note, and which would fit the tone of Suicide Squad.
Well, yeah,
that'd be fun.
Like a comedic ending. Like oh well.
And I mean, at the same time as well, like I mean, because the end game exists, it's. I mean, like we also all know that, like. Because Endgame exists and because you can still roam around Metropolis and fight aliens and stuff, there's, it's like they're not going to completely undo everything, at least. Like, maybe the heroes are alive by the end of it. Maybe they managed to undo that. But, like, the actual destruction of Metropolis and, like, the aliens being around and Brainiac being around, that doesn't seem to be resolving, at least in the main story, unless, there's some alternate version of it.
Yeah.
So, I at least hope that, unlike Marvel's Avengers, because this is going to be live service and they are going to be adding more story and characters and stuff, I hope that they at least get to go out on a note that they want to go out on and actually get to finish the story and resolve it by the end of it. Instead of just, what Avengers was doing was like teasing up this big, climax or event or whatever and then just never getting even close to it. Yeah. That's the thing I'm bummed out on. I hope doesn't happen.
So we got to start wrapping this up now. So
yes we do. Yeah. That's basically all my thoughts on Suicide Squad. I'm excited to play it. I hope it's good. I've warmed up to it over time.
So you're definitely day one at this point.
Definitely day one.
Have you bought it already or?
I've already got it. Okay. So I'm just waiting for it to download at this point, basically, and then I'll be able to play it.
All right. So I'm looking forward to that. The being is it February 2nd, I think it is, or is it?
Yeah, Feb 2nd.
Yeah, it's pretty soon. It's like a week or two.
Yep. All right. So, next game we're gonna talk about is Palworld, which is, as I said, taking the world by storm right now. It's all over my Twitter. It's killing it on Steam. Like as I said, it's number 10, and like in terms of like all-time peak players. It's right behind Baldur's Gate 3. I guess that's not a surprise because Pokemon is a huge franchise and people love that kind of collect monsters that walk around the world and catch them in Pokeballs and stuff. But this game is not Pokemon. It is not Pokemon-styled gameplay. This is very much so a survival game, where it has more in common with Ark Survival or Fortnite than it does Pokemon. This is a survival game where you have to feed yourself, build a base, have your Pokemon. I'm just calling them Pokemon for the sake of it. Pokemon do labor. Like you put them in your camp and they help build things. They build tables and chairs and you cut down trees with an axe to get wood, stone. It's like Minecraft, this is a survival like build a base game. It is not an RPG. It has RPG elements, like, you know, obviously it has the stats and you build the character and things like that. But this is very much so, first and foremost, a survival game. So don't go into this game thinking it's all this, you know, like it's gonna be a total Pokemon ripoff where you walk in and it's just like dialogue. You can go fight the 8 gym leaders, get a badge, fight the Elite Four. This is not this kind of game. This is like you got stranded on a deserted island, and you have no clothes on, and go out in the world like Breath of the Wild, and you have to go build your own clothes, your own base, collect Pokemon, and that's it. So I feel like the beginning of this game is gonna either make or break it for a lot of people, because the beginning of the game is kind of a drag in the sense that like it's very slow, and we have to like collect stones and cut down trees and slowly build up a base. The game doesn't pick up until you start really leveling up more, and then you can start getting into like raid battles against more Pokemon and collecting the bigger, more awesome looking Pokemon. You can start like riding on them, whether in the sky or on the ground, and that's when this game really gets really good. And you start like you can fight these big battles with a machine gun. You can use Pokemon as like a flamethrower, just pick him up and he shoots flames out. Or so the gameplay loop is very addicting, but you have to like the style of gameplay. If you ever played like I don't know, one of those games like the Disney Dreamlight game, it's like that. Now it also reminds me of Pokemon Arceus, because the trainer is very much a main character in the game. He's not just on the side where Pokemon are battling. Like you're actively involved in the battle. Like you swing at the Pokemon when you battle them. So one Pokemon assists you while you're fighting, and you swing at them with an axe, or you punch them, or you shoot at them with a gun, and you kill them. And when you kill them, you get meat and stuff. So and now it's not like grotesque, or it's not like graphic or anything. Like you are killing them, I guess, but there's no like blood, or you're not cutting their head off or anything like that. Like it's something a kid could play, and it wouldn't really affect anything. Like Fortnite is more violent than this, but you are killing the Pokemon. Like obviously in Pokemon you don't shoot them with a machine gun. The manga is a lot more darker and more adult than the games are. This game is more like the Pokemon manga, where it's darker but not too dark, because you do fight like humans too, and like humans that like kidnap the animals and like put them in cages, and they shoot at you and they shoot at other Pokemon. So I keep calling them Pokemon, but they're called pals. Now I know there's a controversy right now. I saw it today where there's AI used. I suppose I don't know if that's true or not. Because
apparently the CEO is like really into AI, explicitly has posted about using AI in his products, and I guess the company he's from also loves crypto shit and NFTs, so it's all very sketchy. That said, I don't know how much it's affected the artists themselves. There are some comparisons between Pokemon and PALs being mentioned. I don't know one way or the other how much it's true or how much it's not, but it's just something to be aware of. Because I think AI in this way kind of sucks. Yeah. There are ways for AI to be cool and interesting, but taking work away from artists isn't really up there for me.
I need more information.
This is like this game just came out, and this controversy. It's really only on Twitter and a few other sites. I think Game Rant has a post about it too.
Yeah.
But this just happened. So I mean, like we don't know a ton.
Plus, it is kind of weird. It comes out like when the release date, when we've known about this game for a long time now. Like this game has been hyped for a long time now. So people were saying like, oh, Nintendo's gonna start suing, and like Nintendo already knew about this game like years ago. So it's not like this game just came out of nowhere. They didn't just pull it out of the ground yesterday. So I don't think Nintendo can do anything about it. I think this game is very different from Pokemon, even though like it has Pokemon, and there's some creatures that look very similar to Pokemon that I know.
Yeah.
But when you play the game, you feel like it's Pokemon, but they don't look like, it's not like every single Pokemon, like every PAL in this game looks just like a Pokemon. Like they look different enough. Like there's a penguin one that walks around, or a sheep one. You can't say like, oh, you're just copying it. Meryl, or Not Meryl. What's the sheep? The whatever.
Mareep.
Mareep. There you go. Like it looks like it does. They're similar because they're both sheep, but it's not like it's just a copy of the Pokemon. Like they feel different. Like when you actually play the game, they feel like Pokemon, but they're not like you don't feel like you're seeing Pidgeotto in the sky. You know what I mean? Like it's different enough where you don't see a difference in the game. I feel like there's some that are just very, very close, and you can tell they probably borrowed from Pokemon, whether it's AI or not. I don't know, but you can definitely tell they at least got a picture of it and copied it. But like for the most part, though, I haven't been like, oh my god, I'm just seeing Mewtwo here. Like, what are they doing? I'm not getting that vibe. It feels like any other creature game. I feel like there's been like a lot worse copies out in the world than this. Like this, I feel like this game is unique enough where it stands out on its own.
Yeah.
I feel like this game is gonna be a hit. I know, like Nintendo fans.
It already has been a hit. It's got
absolutely
886,000 concurrent players on Steam or some shit.
It does, and it's on Game Pass, so it does have that Xbox PC Game Pass audience as well. It is big, but I think it's gonna stay consistently pretty good. I think I feel like this game is gonna stay a hit. I don't think it's gonna be a one-hit wonder kind of thing. Because the gameplay loop is very addicting, and remember this is only early access, so the game's not even officially out yet.
Right.
And so who knows how good this game will be in a few years when there's more content and better patching. But like I'm playing on my PC and Steam Deck, and I've had pretty much no issues performance-wise. It runs very well. It runs very, very well. It looks very nice. It requires a good processor and stuff. I feel like you have to have 16 gigabytes of RAM to play this game. This game is not like a low quality game. Like this game is no slouch. You have to have a decent PC to play it. Not like super expensive ones. Like you can't like play PC from 10 years ago and play it. Like you have to have.
Like I could probably run the. I'm not going to, but I could probably run Palworld decently.
Yeah, I'm sure you have no issues. There's some things here and there where it's like, because when they die, they just turn into like a ragdoll animation, and sometimes it just looks a little weird and cheap when they die. It doesn't feel, it just feels a cheapness to it, because they just kind of just fall down like a ragdoll, and that's it. Now sometimes it's funny when they like roll down a cliff, like when the sheep dies and it just rolls and it's like just the body, but there is a level of cheapness a little bit here and there. Like it feels like It feels like they're copying like almost every game they can find into one conglomerate. Like the opening feels like Breath of the Wild, and the climbing feels like Breath of the Wild, and the look of it feels like a mix of Fortnite and Breath of the Wild and Pokemon, and the art, and then the gameplay feels like Ark Survival, and it just feels like a mixture of everything, but it does it well. But a lot of games do that, so I'm not gonna fault this game for borrowing from mechanics the other games have done before, because a lot of games copy each other all the time. Like every genre game is very similar to each other, so it's not like it doesn't feel like it's stealing from it. It just feels like they grab it. They're just using the same style of gameplay basically. I don't feel like they're ripping off Zelda. It's not going for like save the princess, Ganondorf villain. It just feels like opening of it feels like they're opening a Breath of the Wild, because you're like basically Link's naked in the beginning, and then it's like, and just throws you in the world and says good luck, basically. There's no like big grand thing. Yeah.
Cause you're saying all this, and I'm still not quite grasping just how this became such a big sensation overnight.
Well, it's not overnight. It's been talked about for a long time now. This game's
really.
Yes. For a few years now. Okay. It's been Pokemon with guns. So.
Really?
Yes.
Oh wait, Pokemon. Okay, no. For some reason, Pokemon with guns. Okay. For some reason, I had a completely different grasp. I didn't realize they were the same thing. Yeah, because literally the first I heard about this game was, I think, yesterday or maybe the day before, and I was just like a brief post on Threads about it. I'm like, huh? And then like I saw an article last night where it's like, it's suddenly like it's one of the biggest games around at the moment. I'm like, how?
I was surprised too. What? I wasn't sure how much this would catch on. I presumed it was so popular because people wanted a Pokemon alternative, but I guess it's just because it's had a lot of marketing, and it's just good, and it's got that kind of Pokemon iconography.
I think it's all of those things. I think people
Yeah.
do want a Pokemon alternative because people are not happy with Game Freak. People think Game Freak is lazy and doesn't put in full effort with the Pokemon because they feel like Pokemon sells no matter what. So why even try? That's what people. That's how a lot of people feel. Whether you agree with that or not, that's how a lot of people feel.
Yeah.
And people are claiming this is the best Pokemon game we've gotten in like 10 years and things like that. And I don't totally disagree. I mean, but I've been happy like with Pokemon Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet. You sure the Diamond and Pearl remake were kind of cash grabs, and there was kind of a cheapness to it, I guess, because
they grabbed my cash. I liked them.
And I liked them too, but
Yeah.
it was just chibi version of those games. So it was like
Yeah, that's fair.
So I get why people. I think that's part of it. And Pokemon is the biggest media franchise in the world, so obviously like something Pokemon close to it is gonna grab people's attention because people love this kind of
Right.
stuff. So it's not a shock to me, but I just want to let people know like that like. If you're gonna try this game on Game Pass or buy it on Steam, it's on sale for like it's like $27. It's a $30 game, but it's on sale right now for $27 on Steam. That like this is a survival game. This is not a Pokemon simulator. It's not trying to be a role playing, collect badges, go out and catch them all. This is very much
The last one that tried to do that was popular was like what, Nintendo or something, or
1010.
1010?
Yeah, 1010 is more Pokemon. Like that's more closer to Pokemon.
Yeah.
Not unless they rip off, but I'm gonna say clone to it. This game is Ark Survival.
Temtem. Yeah.
Yeah, this game is Ark Survival.
Yeah.
This game is like the Pokemon. You're gonna go plant the seeds, and you're gonna go mine the rocks, and you're gonna go cut the trees down. You're all gonna collect. And you're gonna be a handyman and build the items for me, and you build a house, and you put the foundation, and you put the walls and the ceiling. You build like a little, basically your own fort, town, whatever you want to call it. It's that kind of game. You have to feed yourself, or if you start getting hungry, you have to make sure you eat, or you start losing health. It's that kind of game.
I mean, for
It's a
me, I mean,
survival
like
game.
I'm not into that genre. I mean, as you guys,
I'm usually not
but
either.
I'm not into that. Yeah. So I don't know. To me, that's slightly disappointing, but also, I mean, to quote Taylor Swift, I know I'm the problem. It's me, because like I will bemoan the current state of Pokemon and like how Nintendo or Nintendo like wants them to come out with a fucking Game Freak, that is, wants them to come out with like a game or 2 or 3 every fucking year, or at least every 2 years. And it just leads to this image of Game Freak being completely lazy. I mean, I loved Sword and Shield, but also I hadn't played Pokemon in like 10 years. I hadn't played it since Diamond. So I was completely blown away, of course,
I think
because I hadn't played him forever. But
yeah,
I mean, even playing the original, not the original, the remaster of Diamond, it was, it was a great game, like you said. But yeah, it's hard to feel, especially at full price.
yeah.
Like it's not a bit of a cash grab. I mean, I didn't even try Arceus or Violet or any of that stuff. It just feels like the direction of Pokemon right now is just not there. But I also I can't say I have any deep interest in monster collecting in my 30s that I did when I was a teenager or a kid.
Yeah.
So I'm not really funding Temtem. I never played it, so I don't know.
Yeah. Plus,
Yeah.
this game is very much so a PC gamer game. Like PC gamers eat this stuff up. As soon as they saw someone cutting a tree down, they're like, "Oh, that game's for me."
Oh shit! It's fire.
No, PC gamers love that stuff. There's a reason why Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing and all those games have long
the
legs.
forest and
Because you can build your own town, and this game is that. It's that kind of game where it's like, the Disney Dreamlight Valley, I think it's called, is very popular because of that. People just love that style of kind of game. So that's what this game is. But there is a lot of combat. Like I said, you can roll the character you play as, who you can customize, can roll out of the way, punch the Pokemon, use an axe or whatever item you have or weapon you have to fight. You can you command your Pokemon. You also can shoot at them with a machine gun. There's Pokemon that have like rocket launchers and things like that. So there's a lot of cool things you can do. The gameplay loop is what's going to keep people going. The gameplay loop is very addicting. This is a game I can see myself playing putting 50 something hours into easily. This game is gonna. I think this game's gonna have long legs, and that's really good for early access. So.
Yeah, definitely.
I recommend it. Like I said, it's not that expensive, and it's on Game Pass, so at least try it. But just keep in mind the beginning. Like I said, the first hour or so is bare bones. Just collect logs and like wood and rocks but like it wasn't that long. It took me like an hour to get situated and understand the mechanics and everything. So it's pretty accessible.
Yeah.
It's nothing extreme or hardcore. So that's why it's so popular, I think.
Yeah.
All right. So that's that. Any other questions before I move on?
Nope.
Not really. No.
All right. So the last topic of the night is the developer direct from Xbox. For me personally, I was very happy with the show because
Yeah.
I don't have Game Pass anymore, but I will buy every game on Steam, and I think I'm gonna buy pretty much every game they showed day one outside that one strategy game, because that's not my kind of game. So
I was like okay on this. I will say I won't say too much because we're gonna get into it, but first two games are strong for me, and then the middle I have no. I tried playing a Civ game a few years ago, and I couldn't get into it at all. And then the last two games were underwhelming for me personally. But yeah, so it was kind of okay. And even the games that I'm super into, the first two, which we'll talk about in a second, I'm not like a day one can't wait. I mean, I'm getting them day one because it's Game Pass. Even right now, I could pre-install Senua Saga. But yeah. So for me, I mean, this was just okay. But I will say this did get me more excited for Avowed because I was not super excited for it before, and I'm still not excited. But I guess I'm like, oh, this looks a little better than I thought it did. Maybe I will give it a try. Also, we'll talk about it, but dual wielding wands is fucking awesome. I'm always a sucker for dual wielding. Just say that dual wielding's in your game, and I'm like, well, at least there's one thing I'm gonna fucking like.
Just call it dual wield, and Dory be like, that's
just call it dual wield.
That's my game.
Dory's there. Dory's dual wielding.
Dual wield, a Dory game.
That's right.
All right. So let's start with Avowed, which is by Obsidian, of course. It's their biggest game.
Yeah, Obsidian rocks.
Now, Obsidian is amazing. One of my favorite developers. Every game they make is awesome. Now, I feel like this was the weakest part of the show because I feel like they didn't explain enough. They just didn't show enough, I think. And I think I think the gameplay looked like it didn't blow me away. Like I just felt like it was typical.
I think I actually quite liked the combat wise. I liked what I was seeing as like this is a work in progress. You know, like it can still be a.
They still have till the fall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. At least yeah. But the thing that threw me was just those couple moments where they were showing like character dialogue. Yeah. And it just. I don't know how to describe it. Like, it looked both uncanny valley, but like also just really low quality.
Especially the text box.
Yeah, it was really weird. And like again, it's still a work in progress. Things can change.
Yeah.
But I was really that's the thing I'm just not a fan of with like Obsidian and Bethesda RPG games where like they have this. They're just hell bent on having really janky like character animations and stuff, and like seeing how far we've come in recent years, like especially with like Ubisoft, like of all people and stuff, and like some of their Assassin's Creed games where like you like all the character animations and stuff there for like just the simple interactions and quests and stuff. It's not it's nothing mind-blowing, it's nothing amazing, but like at least they have facial animations, and at least like their bodies move, and like like they feel semi-reactive in a conversation, as opposed to like granted we only saw a few seconds of it, so things can change, but here it's just kind of like a soldier like just kind of slumping over, and I don't think it was even making eye contact with the player or something. He's like, yeah, there were a few of us and we all died, It was really a bummer.
That was my first.
It kind of sucked.
That was my first thought when I saw that. I mean, I know this game's going to be good in terms of the writing and the story. Obsidian's the king of that.
It's based on the Pillars of Eternity. Lore, so but it's based on that world.
Okay, that's That's
Yeah.
what I was wondering, because I'm like,
Yes.
they were throwing out all these phrases like AOR or something like that. I'm like, and like they were throwing all those like words around, like I should know what they mean.
Yeah, I didn't know what the fuck
So,
they were saying
okay.
either, Mitch. I had to literally
Okay.
look it up to figure out what the hell's going on.
But you're,
So yeah, it is based off of the established IP somewhat.
Yes.
Okay.
but I agree with
Okay.
you. I feel like the text box looks kind of cheap, especially in comparison to like Baldur's Gate 3. It looks like a huge step down. Like Baldur's Gate 3 is
Yeah.
like amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it just feels like another, as you said, New Vegas.
I
Yeah.
kind of like how
Fallout.
it was described in the YouTube comments under the IGN video. It's like an Obsidian-like, or not Obsidian-like, sorry, Oblivion-like. Like it feels, even the combat felt a bit like I was back in the PS3 era of playing RPGs, and
Yeah.
not in a good way.
That's it. That's the vibe. That's the vibe I got. It felt
Yeah, it feels
like
old-
a
it feels like a
PS3
typical-
Xbox.
And again, I
for better and
don't.
for
I
worse.
agree with Seb. Like I don't doubt that the writing's going to be on point, and that the story's going to be great, and the lore is probably going to be interesting, if not overwhelming. But yeah, I mean, combat and some facial stuff and text boxes. I mean, they've still got time, and we're at the beginning of the year, and if they're doing fall, the latest they could do is like, I don't know, fucking November or December or some shit. Yeah. So I mean, they've still got quite a bit of time, dev time, to make it look better. But I don't know that it'll be leaps and bounds better.
I will.
Unlikely.
I will say the environments and the textures look a lot better than the last time they showed it. Like there's a huge improvements, and like you can tell they definitely polished it definitely. So it's possible that they polished this by.
I'm glad. Like I think, I'm glad that like they at least like with the gameplay and like the combat and stuff. I'm glad that it at least seems like they're trying to do. Definitely not innovative, but definitely interesting.
Yeah,
I'd say with it, like being able to, like I'm gonna be honest. This is basically just like Assassin's Creed Valhalla. They did the exact same thing. They let you dual wield 2 shields if you wanted to, or dual wield 2 of any weapons and stuff. But
it's gonna start playing Assassin's Creed. Damn.
but it's like, and I get it's first like it. I don't know. It's like I feel like. It's a cool idea on paper, but it's like it's going to come down to the RPG mechanics, how like skills and all that work.
Yeah. Sure.
There was a brief second where they showed off like a VATS type system. It seemed where like it slowed down and like like an enemy was like, I don't know, shot with like a spell or something. And they went flying in slow motion and stuff, and like the camera zoomed in and that like same like VATS like motion. I'm not sure how they're going to justify that being in the game, because like it was kind of barely justified, well not justified, but like like it felt a bit tagged on in like the Outer Worlds as it was.
Right, yeah, it felt a little out of place.
Yeah, and it's like okay, the Outer Worlds, like it's in like a similar Fallout type setting. So
it was like, look, everybody, a Fallout reference. This other game that you like by this other big corporation.
I feel like one of the biggest problems with the gameplay, if what I'm seeing, is the FOV is off. I feel like the arms are a little too spread out. It looks like it just looks like I feel like they can clean that up and move it a little closer, because it feels like he's doing this. It just feels off.
I think overall, like I just didn't, unlike Indiana Jones, which we'll speak about at some point, I didn't get much of a vibe of anything like the story or what the gameplay is actually like. All I know is that it's an RPG. You can, like there's goblins and orcs and whatnot, and you can like through spells or swords and shields and stuff.
Yeah.
And then there's people you can talk to. Like I don't get, like I don't. There was nothing in that presentation that really.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I get the vision. I get how this is going to be different from the other Skyrims and Elder Scrolls games and all those, all that type,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest problems is that the enemies just kind of, I don't know, they're just not selling I'm using wrestling terminology, but they're just not like selling the attack as much as you think they should be, or they're like responding in weird ways, or like you said, like the models just seem a little stiff. I don't know exactly what's going on. Obviously, I'm not a developer.
No. I mean, like obviously, like stuff like that can be done in, like, can still be polished up, of course.
Yes, for sure.
But only so much though. You know, it's not gonna be like a totally.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like they're gonna be able to totally redo like the system or
I think
how that works.
I think what it is.
I'm at the point where it's on Game Pass. I'm gonna give it a shot, but I'm not like hyped for it.
The best I'm gonna be honest here. The one thing that actually convinced me to watch their little showcase of Avowed in the first place was that cover art.
Yes, the cover art looks fucking awesome.
Cover art is amazing.
That's the one thing.
It's like finally we have some good cover art for video games again.
That's true. Yeah.
Well, I mean, everybody's not selling physical media anymore, right? Best Buy and I think Walmart more recently. I mean, physical media is becoming less and less of a thing, which I think is sad.
Yeah.
I mean, hold on.
I'm not as I don't have as big of a problem with it as other people do, but I can definitely see the downside of it. Like, there's definitely some big downsides.
Yeah.
I'm not even joking. Like, the cover art for The Quarry and like just being able to have that on my shelf is one of the reasons I got it when I did, because I'm like, it's a fantastic piece of artwork. It's a striking, like color wise and stuff.
Yeah,
it's just good to display.
And
that's similar to that's similar vibes to what Avowed's giving off. Not that I'll buy a disc of it.
Yeah,
because I don't even have an Xbox at the moment. But like, yeah, it's like, okay, good. We finally have some good cover art.
Yeah, I don't even think about the cover art anymore. Like back in the day, I used to make my decisions of what games I bought or my parents bought or what games I rented based on the cover art.
Yeah, that's just kind of how it was.
Like I would walk into Blockbuster and be like, "Oh, the cover looks cool," and then the game ends up sucking. But the cover art made the whole got people to buy it.
Yeah.
So I want to say that I probably will be day one because I trust Obsidian because they're just a quality developer. So that's why I'll probably really enjoy this game even with all its flaws.
Yeah,
but I think the biggest problem with this game and the showcase was the fact that this game is not a game you can show in this short of a brief time. This is a game that needs a 30-minute showcase of like, here's the mechanics, here's how the skill trees work. It needs like that cyberpunk kind of show, like you deep dive into it, like Baldur's Gate got. We'll get that, so I'm not too worried. So even though the showing for this wasn't great in the show, I didn't sour me on this game. I'm pretty certain I'm gonna really like this game because out of us, including James, I love Bethesda style games the most. I played all of them, and I'm always there day one. So I will probably like this game.
The last thing I'll say on Avowed is the last game Obsidian put out, at least that I remember, is Pentiment, which came out a couple years ago now. And was in my top 5 games of 2022. So I'm with Seb. I trust Obsidian to deliver. They've still got 10 months to improve things. Obviously, there's a limit, but things could be better than what they're showing here.
Yes, Pentiment was also in my top 10, my retrospective top 10.
Yeah,
I didn't get to play until after we did our list, but
it was in my top 5.
I did right after our list. Actually, I did maybe around Christmas time. I played that.
Yes, game. I know you. I was so struck by emotion. I was like, damn it, Seb, you would have loved it.
Plus, it was perfect though because I played one of the awesome scenes.
Oh, that's right.
Right on Christmas, so it was like.
Yes. I was very happy about it. I was like, it was all worth it.
Yeah.
But anyway,
so let's
go on to Senua.
Yeah. So the next game they showed was Hellblade 2. Now, as I talked about last week, it is in my top 5 most anticipated games of the year. I've played Hellblade 1 a lot. I really like that game, but obviously, as I said, it has too many puzzles that I don't care for. But my concern with this game was, first of all, not concerned, but it's more like I feel like they've showed this game so much at this point. I don't know what more you can show me, but really what they haven't showed me is gameplay. I have not seen combat yet. They keep keeping combat a secret. I don't know why. They keep showing her walking. They keep showing her walking.
Didn't they say? Yeah, say it's like a brutal brand new combat system made from the ground up?
And they have not showed it once. Yeah.
It's too brutal to be shown.
Is it God of... My assumption is going to be God of War Ragnarok kind of gameplay, where it's the behind the shoulder,
Kind of.
That's how I'm picturing it. But
yeah, I mean that's kind of what the first game was.
Yeah.
Very slow paced and.
But I feel like it's
yeah.
gonna be better. Like I feel like, but it's just
Oh,
weird that they have not shown
I'm certain,
combat. Like they've showed this game like so many times at this point. I have not seen combat gameplay
just
or anything.
Just to get clarification as well, because like I've seen about this game saying that like it's going to be a digital only release. It's going to be $50.
Yeah.
And it's going to be the same length as the first game, which I think was like what 4 or 5 or so hours.
Well, this one's gonna be 8. I think
this
7
is-
to 8. I heard.
Okay.
They showed a little bit of
This
like
is going to be on
around
Game Pass, right?
Yeah, day
around
one.
Be on
three
Game Pass.
Yeah, day one.
Yes. Cool.
around like the
Thought so.
325 mark, 320 mark. They do show a little bit of combat, but I didn't see a big jump up from the first game. Obviously, like
Yeah, they
it
showed
looks
just
gorgeous.
they showed a tiny
doesn't-
bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it doesn't look that much different than
Yeah.
the first game did. At least not to my.
They haven't.
recollection.
What I mean is they haven't just gave us like a gameplay
a
sequence.
gameplay video.
Like when they showed it at the Game Awards, it was gameplay, it was real time and everything, but it was a scripted event. Like it wasn't
Yeah.
like you didn't see her swinging a weapon at somebody.
Yeah, that makes me nervous. Like, why would
Yeah.
they keep hiding it over and over and over and over and over again?
So this is the game where I'm like, I really hope it's great. And I like, even though it's my top 5 most specific games, it might be the game that might disappoint me the most.
Yeah.
So I'm not like, oh, I'm gonna go pre-order it day one. I'm gonna be like, I'll wait for the reviews, and then like I said, it's not full price. Only I mean it's $50, still expensive, I guess, but it's not $70 at least. And if it gets in the 8s, I'll get it day one, I'm sure. Because like I said, the great parts of this game is probably gonna be really great, like the cinematics and the head, the sound design and things like that. I'll probably really like it like the first game. But like I said, I really hope this game, even if this game is very similar to the first game in terms of like the combat, I'll be fine with that because I thought the combat in that game was fine. It didn't hurt the game. I think the problem with that game was the puzzles. I think the puzzles were just way too many, and too many like visual ones where like it was confusing, and like half the game I'm just like getting confused of like how to solve this puzzle. And like as Dory said last week, even when I used the guide, I still got confused. And I literally could not use a text guide for that game. I had to go on YouTube and like look at a video of how to do it because the text guide was just even more confusing. So I really hope that they go for more of like a like action focus this time. Like do it like God of War. Like God of War has puzzles, but they're never like hard ones or anything. They don't hurt the pacing. Because that's one of my problems with like Uncharted sometimes. Like even though it fits Uncharted because Uncharted is like about going in like ancient civilizations and solving puzzles, it hurts the pacing sometimes, I think, because some of the puzzles are a little complicated. But because I'm not sure a lot of people have played the first Hellblade, and I'm not sure that they realize that this game is very puzzle heavy. The first one. That I hope.
And I am worried by some of the verbiage, like some of the ways that they talked about the puzzles. I was like, man, it feels like there's still going to be a fucking fuck ton of puzzles. I will also say, although they did show combat, it is probably the third shortest section in the whole video, like spatial audio and music, which I don't really need to know about. I mean, I'm sure it's incredible and it's cool they're showing it.
Yeah.
It is like way longer than combat, and story is much longer, and even the intro is almost as long. So it's like they're just not showing it.
Yeah, the only gameplay that there's a snippet is like it feels very scripted and it feels like that Rise Son of Rome game. Have you ever played that camera angle?
I have not, but
that game. Don't get me wrong, that game is actually really fun, but it is very linear, scripted. But it's not bad. So yeah, I don't expect this game to be like revolutionary in terms of the gameplay. This game's gonna shine in the cinematics and the story and the sound design. I think that's what people are really gonna like this game. So,
would you say this like kind of slightly decreased your hype for the game, or
I'm the same?
Would you say like just kind of put it more in like realistic terms, basically?
I'm pretty much the same. Like I still had the same questions for this game. I think I feel like I know what to expect. Honestly, so this is my kind of game, even if it's very scripted and linear. I know a lot of people hate that.
Yeah.
I know I'm a well-rounded gamer. Like those games I like pure gameplay, where like Mario or something. And then there's some games I just really enjoy the cinematics of it. Like people don't like the Quantic Dream games, like Detroit Become Human, things like that. I really enjoy those kind of games. I love the Telltale games and things like that. I enjoy games that don't have the best gameplay, but the story and the writing and the cinematics drive me.
Honestly, the first game really should have been on my alley. I really expected to love it, not drop it a few hours in. So I was
just because of the puzzles. That's really what it is.
And it's just because of the fucking puzzles. And I, usually that wouldn't be a problem. I'm adaptive. Like, I understand people like puzzles. I'll use a fucking walkthrough. I know we already talked about this, but even using the walkthrough, I was frustrated. Kim and I both used a walkthrough, and even then, together, two adults using an online walkthrough from people who have presumably already beaten the game still struggled to figure out the puzzles. It was so fucking complicated.
I'm gonna play it again. I did buy it on Steam because it was like $4 before it comes out in May. So I'm curious how well it holds up. Maybe my opinion will change. This time, but I played it like a long time ago. Good.
This hasn't affected my hype one way or the other. Similar to Seb, I'm looking forward to it. I hope it does well. I think one thing I want to talk about too, very briefly, is I just think the subject matter is very important. They're talking about people with psychosis. It's so rare that we get any kind of narrative in anything, any media, about people who deal with schizophrenia or any kind of psychosis at all. There's more than kinds of psychosis than just schizophrenia. It's just one of the more well-known ones. But I mean, I can count how many schizophrenic characters in media overall that we've ever had that have had any kind of semblance of a positive description. Honestly, off the top of my head, the only one I can think of besides this is Donnie Darko. That's the only one. So I think the narrative here is very important. And the fact that
does Deadpool count? I mean,
kind of.
I mean.
I think he's got more so split personality disorder, but he
because the narrator talks to him.
Considered a psychosis.
I think I'm thinking of the narrator talking to him. But maybe I don't know.
I mean, like Joker also can be. I mean, that the movies plays kind of fast and loose with its representation because it leaves it mostly ambiguous.
Yeah, I haven't seen Joker, so I wasn't aware.
It's it's kind of. I mean, like at least like one of the twists is like, oh, he imagined basically a girlfriend that was never even there.
Yeah.
Ooh, plot twist.
The only time I see schizophrenic people are like in crime dramas or something where they're like the murderer. Yeah. That's the only thing I every time.
So what I'm saying basically is like I hope this game does well. I hope it's well made because the narrative it's doing is very important, and they're also consulting people who have dealt with psychosis through their lived experience, which is awesome. And also, I believe they're working again with the same professor they did on the first game, who helped a lot of the research. So anyway, I just think that's cool. If nothing else, I super respect Team Ninja for making this game. I think it's very important.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain that this game's going to nail that aspect. I
agree.
Because the first game did a really good job with that. So
absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to so Square Enix was at this show. Now this game is not coming to Game Pass, so this is not a Game Pass announcement, but the new Mana game is coming to Xbox, which is a big deal in the sense that Microsoft's trying to get more Japanese games on their platform because they're severely lacking in that department. And obviously they got all the Persona games on Game Pass, and they had that deal. They had that partnership with Final Fantasy 14 to finally get it on there now, which they didn't have. They were the only platform that didn't have that game. So this was just like this was really just an announcement that it's coming to Xbox, and that's pretty much it. Like it was just like, okay, it's coming to Xbox. You guys are not missing out. Now
it really did feel like at the beginning where the guy who was talking to the Xbox people was like, "Hey, people in Japan who love Xbox, all 5 of you, like."
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going?
It stopped feeling like an Xbox show. I felt like now this is like a Square Enix showing off their game. And I guess that's the intention.
It felt weird.
It felt out of place in this show.
I agree.
But with that said,
I will say the mascot's very cute. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
You're fine.
But the wolf was very cute. The one with that looked like an armadillo, but had like a wolf face.
Yeah,
it was very, very cute. That's the best thing I could say about this.
Now, I think I actually would recommend this game to you because you like action RPGs, and the Mana series is an action RPG. Like if you like Scarlet Nexus or Tales of Arise. This is up your alley.
I know zero about the Mana series. Like I know of it, I'm aware of it, but I've never played one, never seen anyone play it. So like when this happened, I was not moved at all.
Yeah.
But like if it gets good reviews and it's affordable, or I could find it affordably, like yeah, maybe I'll give it a shot, because I do love action RPGs.
Yeah.
And obviously I love a lot of Square Enix games. I don't always love their business decisions, but that's a different matter. But yeah, I mean it looks pretty, and I love their mascot. It was just adorable. So and I'm sure the soundtrack, this probably goes without saying, but the soundtrack will probably be a bop. So you know, I was like 100 songs in total or some shit. So
it's
that's
Square Enix.
awesome.
If Square Enix, even when they make mediocre bad games, the soundtrack always is a banger.
Absolutely. I mean, they've literally got Yoko Shimomura on speed dial, so I mean, there's no way they could ever make a bad soundtrack game.
Yeah, I almost feel bad for them. Her, and Nobuo, they're like
standards. It's like, all right, guys, we know this game's shit, but the soundtrack we gotta nail. We gotta nail that.
Like she's waking up making tea, and all of a sudden she gets a phone call. We're making another video game.
Right.
We're making another video game. Get in there.
Damn it!
Get in there. All right. Yeah. This game, I don't know if I'm gonna be day one, but this is definitely a game I hope to beat by December. Because this is, as I said when we first saw it at the Game Awards. It looks. I love the Mana games. They're really fun. They have a good story, good soundtrack. It's like it's Dragon Quest, like Final Fantasy. It's just it's in that same like sphere. It's just it's more action focused.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Well, Final Fantasy is like that now too. Obviously.
Yes.
All right. So the next game was Aria Untold, History Untold.
I skipped most of. I'm sorry to the devs. But I skipped most of this, honestly.
That's what I wanted to say. Like, I don't want to like dismiss it, because I know the people are really excited about it, but this is just not my kind of game. No offense to the devs, I just can't talk about it.
Yeah,
it's not for me. This is a PC gamer focus. Like, this is definitely a PC gamer who plays like 100 hours of this. Like, this is one of those games. They love that in PC. I think it's only on PC Game Pass at first. I mean. And plus, I would not play these games on Xbox. Like, these games don't play well on a console. I mean, don't get me wrong, you can play mouse and keyboard on Xbox, but like that just seems kind of weird. It's like, why do you have why are you using an Xbox in that regard?
Yeah, it's kind of like when they put out Gears Tactics. If anyone remembers that, where it's like it was, it's like one of Xbox's big like action RPG, and like I mean, like it's a spin-off. I'm all for cool spin-offs doing different genre bending things.
Yeah.
But then they released it on Xbox, like on Xbox consoles, and like I just remember hearing nothing about it.
That's one of the frustrating things about Game Pass. Like, I think that's one of the negatives of Game Pass is that like there's a disconnect between the PC and the Xbox console. Like, PC will get games only for them, and Xbox game players miss out, or like. Yeah. You'll get games like Halo 5 being on Xbox, or Gears of War Remastered being on Xbox, and it's not on PC.
Yeah.
Or like Gears 4 is not on Steam. It's like, it's just things like that are just kind of a disconnect. I know a lot of Xbox players feel like they're left out. Because I feel like Microsoft has targeted PC players more than the console itself. And people are starting to wonder if they're becoming third-party developer and getting away from consoles because like they're so focused on PC. And like bringing things everywhere, so a lot of Xbox players feel like they're being left out, and this is one of these examples where this game is like gonna be on PC only, I think, at first.
Yeah, I played these games when I was little, and I think I enjoyed them then, but I also didn't know my taste in video games. Now I'm not a strategy person. I prefer checkers to chess. I would rather play a game of Connect 4 than a game of I don't know, fucking blackjack or some shit. Any day. Like, I'm just not a strategy person.
Yeah. And
that's just not the kind of person I am or want to be. So this game just isn't for me. It looks nice. I'm sure the team is great and has done some great work. One thing I will say is I've heard, because I follow Outside Xbox and Outside Extra, lovely YouTube channels, by the way. They were talking about how they wished that one of them was talking, I think it was Luke, but they were talking about how they wish the Civilization games would be a bit simpler, and he just can't jive with the Civilization games. They've gone too complicated. There's the thing like Cultural Victory now, where it just used to be like war and domination and stuff. Anyway, look, what I'm saying is basically I hope this is an accessible, open game for people who are new to the genre, because otherwise this game just isn't going to fly. I mean, especially compared to all the the view count of the video versus everything else, I mean, it's already not great. But on the other side, all the comments are very positive. So I don't know.
Yeah, the audience for this game is very, very happy. Like, this is specific niche audience.
If you're in the audience for this game, you're fucking thrilled, and I'm very, like, legitimately I'm happy for you. But I'm not that audience, and so
I'm not either. Yeah,
No.
This is like if they showed a racing game to me. Like when I see Forza, I'm just like,
not moved. Just
not moved. Yeah, but people always take that as like an insult. Like, I'm not insulting the game. It's just not for me.
No, I'm sure the devs worked super hard on it. It looks great, and I hope it kicks ass like I do for pretty much any game. But not for me.
Yeah. All right. So the last game of the showcase, best for last, was Indiana Jones. And that is by Machine Games, the people that made Wolfenstein. So no surprise, this game is first person. I know I know that was a big conversation online. People were upset, and a lot of people.
I didn't really care.
A lot of people were defending it, though. I think most people liked the decision because most people from what I saw, most people were defending it, saying it's good to stand out from Tomb Raider and Uncharted. And at first, I was kind of disappointed it wasn't third person because that's my favorite genre because I'm a big Uncharted fan. But now, I think it's the right move. I think they know what they're doing with that. That's their genre, and also I think it does stand out.
Yes.
Go ahead, Mitch.
Also, I don't know why I was surprised, by the fact that like it was first person to start with because I don't know, like I never put it together that like Machine Games, Wolfenstein, and then Indiana Jones. Like I never put two and two together until they showed off the footage.
Man, you know what?
And then I was like, oh, of course it would be like. And then like I realized that's like, oh yeah, Indiana Jones, Nazis. Like it's
fucking Machine Games. They love killing Nazis. Like I mean, and all the love to them for that. To be clear,
I think
first Wolfenstein, Indie. I mean, they're doing the great.
I think
you get to punch Hitler too. That was great.
Hell yeah.
Take it with a heavy grain of salt. I think I saw something online that said like one of the heads of Machine Games was like a Holocaust survivor or something. So like, if that's true, I fully get that. I fully get that at all. Honestly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So Magneto was right.
Yeah.
Full support.
Yeah.
Anyway, Oh, sorry. I'm not. I grew up on the indie movies. That sounds weird. I grew up on the Indiana Jones movies, and I remember liking them as a child. Going back as an adult has been more difficult for me. I just don't. I tried to watch the first one on Netflix. I don't know if it's aged poorly or if it's me, but like Kim and I both couldn't get into it, so we just stopped like 1/3 of the way through. But like, so maybe I don't know. Maybe Temple of Doom and The Last Crusade hold up better. But like
Temple of Doom, I don't know about that one. I mean, I love that movie. I love that movie, but that movie, like, definitely is an 80s movie.
Yes, for sure.
It's very offensive for in a lot of ways for people.
Look, it's hard to fucking do Uncharted, Tomb Raider, and Indiana Jones in the world that we have here, where we're so keenly aware of various cultures getting fucking robbed. I mean, just look at the English Museum. I'll try not to get too political here, but I mean, go to the fucking British Museum, and I mean, half the stuff there is spoiler alert, not from Britain. I'm just not enthusiastic about that kind of character. And look, I love the first Tomb Raider the remake that they did. We don't talk about the third game. There wasn't a third game, and then I've heard the second game is solid. And I love Uncharted. I love the first 4 Uncharted games, and then I guess they made a DLC sequel, and I'm whatever. But like, I also don't like 3. But anyway, my point is, I'm not like wholly against this type of character, but I do feel like it's more complicated now to make this kind of character popular and relevant than it was, back when it happened. I mean, the last 2 Indiana Jones movies, the one with Shia LaBeouf and the new one, both were not received positively. If I remember correctly,
I did not like either movie.
I think
yes. So it's harder to sell me on this game as an adult.
The newest one was very boring, I thought.
Yeah, I'm just not big on this.
I wanted to. I sat through it, but I was like, I wanted to turn it off like half. I was just like, I can't. I felt like I did out of like obligation to watch it.
Yep.
Go ahead, Mitch.
I come from the perspective of someone who I watched Kingdom of the Crystal Skull when I was a kid because like, that was just coming out at the time. And then later on, I went to rewatch, what was it, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and like obviously, like I played the Lego Indiana Jones games, so, like I'm familiar with it. It's like when I last watched Raiders of the Lost Ark, I just kind of realized that Indiana Jones is not my kind of thing. Like I just, at least in that first movie, I don't know if it was today, I tried to engage with the movie. At that point in time, it just didn't work for me. So basically, going into the game, I had. And I haven't even seen Dial of Destiny. I was like, I just basically wrote that movie off because I'm like, I'm not interested in the character. I don't have that connection to it.
Plus, it didn't appeal to anybody.
And from what I heard of and from what I heard of the reviews as well, it's basically like it's, I mean, not great that I skipped it, but also it's like it's not too much of a loss either.
Yeah, because the people that love Indiana Jones, like me who grew up with it, don't like that movie because it feels like Harrison Ford's like 90. Just leave him alone. Like
just leave Harrison Ford alone.
Because
like goddamn,
because they're doing the typical. They did the typical like de-age technology, but he still sounds like an old man because it's still his voice. So like it's like young Harrison Ford with an old man voice. And it's just
and like those slight mannerisms.
Yeah,
and, like the.
They should have, because different. It's different in a video game. Because like in this movie, I mean, in this video game, they de-aged him. I mean, it takes place between the second and third movie, I believe. But it's the voice. But it's
Temple of Doom erasure or some shit.
But it's Troy Baker's voice.
Well, Temple of Doom's a prequel though, isn't it?
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
Temple of Doom is the second. It's a prequel. Yeah.
Oh. Okay. They said so between the first and the third. Oh, okay.
Yes, because it's chronologically. Yeah.
Oh,
it's weird. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know why they did it like that, but
I think they said second to third.
Fucking George Lucas and his goddamn timeline.
Yeah. Well, for me, I'm a big Indiana Jones fan. I grew up, with those movies. I watched them on tape a lot, and also, I went to Disney World, and they would have like Indiana Jones live action show and all the stunts and the big ball falling down. Like, that was all iconic to me, and I'm a huge LucasArts fan. Obviously, I talked about extensively about Star Wars, Grim Fandango, all those narrative games. So, Indiana Jones, I love, but. The irony, as Dory mentioned, is that we are in a gaming world. In the gaming world, Indiana Jones is the one that is what inspired Tomb Raider and Uncharted. But the irony is that this is coming out in the post-Uncharted Tomb Raider world. So people are going to accuse this game of being too similar to those games.
Right.
Because
it's fucking weird.
Even though there has been some good Indiana Jones games in the past, but never on the level of Uncharted. Yeah, go ahead.
And I mean, back to the first person discussion. It's probably for the best that they're doing it in first person, just because
it makes it stylistically stand out.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. And on Troy Baker as well, because like I'm not sure how people on Twitter are reacting to it. I'm assuming badly because they have a hate boner for anyone who's popular most of the time. But I think he sounds fine. Like it's definitely Troy Baker doing a Harrison Ford impression, but like it's not a terrible one either.
It's been mostly fine. I don't think anyone's been like
okay.
He's doing a good impression.
Yeah. It sounds like him though.
I think
that's for sure.
I mean, like probably the moment that truly like sold me on him as the voice was like right at the end, where it's like, do you know how much that was worth? Or
listened to that.
That was the bit where I'm like, okay, yeah, no. I see the vision.
I would say I was mixed. I feel like sometimes I heard just Troy Baker. I'm like, that's Troy Baker.
Yes.
And there's other times where it's like, yeah, he's doing a really good. Like it was like hit and miss. But it doesn't bother me. It doesn't affect my enjoyment of the game.
No,
that's not gonna
it's not like I walked into this game fucking think, oh god, Harrison Ford better fucking come down from the heavens and VA this himself for Machine Games. Like, I never had that expectation, right? If you had the expectation that fucking 70-plus-year-old Harrison Ford is going to come down from his fucking mountaintop and VA in a fucking video game with the way he talks about Star Wars, nah, that's not happening. No way.
I like to think of like that clip or like that meme of like him like
being gifted like the Lego Millennium Falcon, and it's like him just basically tossing it to the side, like Machine Games handing him a bunch of money for doing the VA. He's like, oh fuck.
Doesn't need it.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think it's probably like it's interesting though because like I obviously Harrison Ford is not going to be around forever, and like I think, I mean, basically Dial of Destiny is the final time he's going to be in the role, because what Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was originally going to be that, wasn't it? At least for a while.
Well, the ending set up Shia LaBeouf to be the next Indiana Jones.
That's right.
Although, and then the last
right.
second he takes the hat away.
That's right. But like, because like, I mean, like with his age now and with how things are going, I'd be shocked if he comes back. Like, I'm pretty certain that's his last time at the role. But like, the thing I'm interested in is like, with the Indiana Jones brand and character going forwards, especially once he does pass away, like, are they just going to keep him as Harrison Ford and like just have people do impressions of him for the rest of eternity, or are they going to like basically when or would they ever recast him, or like try and actually have him as distinctly different? Because like I get why, with the emphasis they're putting on it being canon, like being in between movies, I get why they're still sticking to Harrison Ford likeness.
I think,
but like I feel like there's a time and a place eventually where like they're gonna have to bite the bullet and just recast him entirely.
I think movie wise they won't do that. They won't even touch that. It would have to be a prequel.
No.
So I think the closest thing would be a prequel show or a movie, but they already did that like in the 90s. There was a young Indiana Jones show.
Yeah.
Which
was there? I had no idea.
Which people kind of like. I think. Actually, I think people kind of like that show, but I think that's what you would have to do.
I know Chris Stuckman did a video on it, yeah.
I think games don't have that issue because you can just get Troy Baker and play him, and you don't have to like worry about you don't have to worry about. Obviously, you have to get the likeness permission and all that from the game, but like, it's not the same as a movie though. It will feel off. No one's gonna watch an Indiana Jones movie without Harrison Ford. That's why people are upset with the new movie. People think like it should just ended with the third one, because the Last Crusade, he rides off in the sunset and that's it. It's a perfect ending to a trilogy. Didn't need to be any more. And then they just pulled him out of retirement twice.
Yeah.
So,
Quest for more money. Indiana Jones 4. Quest for more money.
But let's get back on the game now.
Yeah.
The gameplay mechanics look really cool with the whip. They can whip the gun out of their hands and stuff.
Freaks rejoice. The whip looks great.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. We're going to be demonetized now.
And I like... I'm not a big fan of puzzles, but it does fit the Indiana Jones very much so.
Yeah,
that feels like a necessary evil to me.
Yeah.
The puzzle, I mean, like the puzzles have always been the part I like the least about the Uncharted games, just because I think they're and even to an extent in the Tomb Raider games, like they were just, I hated how they were just like, oh, look at the journal and go from there. Like I hated how they
that was so fucking annoying.
So I'm saying they always run the pacing for me. I'm just not a fan of that.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. I think,
I hope
and I mean like
intuitive.
Yeah, I mean, like, I know Machine Games, like, obviously the Wolfenstein games, they didn't really have any puzzles in them, per se. Like, they had platforming and stuff, but not puzzles.
No.
So I'm interested to see how they, handle that.
Because they're doing, like, there's, like, there's secret areas. Like, there's a ton of, like, the map. There's tons of, like, secret puzzles you can solve and get artifacts and things like that, sounds like. So this game's going to have a ton of that stuff. Go ahead.
I'm interested how they're gonna actually structure their game, because like there are a couple moments where like they're in like this, like, I don't know, like a museum storage basement or something, and it's like, you know, that the journalist character, she was there, and it's like, I wonder if they're gonna basically structure it like their Wolfenstein games, where it's like you do like a big mission or mission chain, or like there's a big set piece, then you return back to like the main hub, and then like you go out again, and like I have a feeling they'll structure it like that, especially if they're saying it's like more cinematic and globetrotting. I feel like that's what they're probably gonna do.
Which Wolfenstein
again,
is,
Machine Games, it's a perfect fit.
Yes.
The devs and what they've done so far.
Yeah, because Wolfenstein games are really fun. They were like crazy over the top. This game's sure it's gonna be more toned down, I'm sure. But
yes,
this is a great answer. Because Microsoft needed a big license. Because
they did.
Because Sony has Spider-Man. Obviously, Indiana Jones is not Spider-Man, but they needed something.
But it's I think. I mean, like they. I mean, like it's a Spider-Man though. Where it's like you have a big, well-beloved IP, and then you're having a developer who has, got a pretty good track record when it comes to other games in the past, coming in to do it in like with their own style and in their own way, and like a different spin on the genre. So it's the same basic setup.
Yeah. Okay, so it's basically it's between the first and third movie, so that's why it's.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Second and third are chronologically, so what you said wasn't, entirely wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think also there's like a lot of punching and stuff. Like there's like the hand-to-hand combat looks really good from what I'm seeing.
They mentioned that you can also use pistols and use weapons disarmed from enemies. So I'm assuming that you'd also be able to run around with Indiana Jones, using a Tommy gun or shotgun or whatever, which
makes sense.
Which will be Nazis, which will be.
Well, I mean, if you think, Indiana Jones is like Lara Croft and Nathan Drake, where they're like serial killers. They murdered hundreds of people. No one ever questions that. We just kill like tons of people. And Indiana Jones has done that before. Did it before them. They like in the movies, he kills like a ton of people in brutal ways.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, 100%. I mean the ludonarrative dissonance is off the chart, and it'd be funny. It'd be so funny. I don't think this will happen, but if this is like the best quote unquote Uncharted / Tomb Raider game, is like this becomes that or somehow. I don't know how that would happen.
I can kind of see it happening. To be honest, like I think there's a decent chance that they could pull it off.
Yeah.
Like I mean, they've got Tony Todd in there. How can they go wrong with that?
Yeah, Todd Howard said this like he was dreaming to make this game. People were saying like Starfield would have been a lot better. Starfield was they were saying Starfield was just a side project, and this is like his true passion. I legitimately saw that on Twitter like consistently from people. I'm sure they were like fanboys saying that, but it was really funny. It was like Todd Howard didn't only care about Starfield; he just wanted to get the Indiana Jones game made.
That's so.
He's funny. Like talking to people. It is like that's great. Now what's going on with Indy?
he just has a Ford shrine in his office. He's like,
yeah, just like a big, like, he has a cutaway, like the cutout, like of Harrison Ford's out in this office, like in the back.
He's like making out with the cutout, and some like poor like studio intern comes in with some reports about how Starfield is going, and it could probably use a little bit more time in the oven. No, it's fine. Close the door.
It's fine.
I'm also
leave me be.
Now
leave me be.
I'm also curious that how Gina's gonna play, because she's gonna be like a main character as well, and like I hope.
Is she playable?
I don't know if they said she was playable or not.
Because they said main character. I'm not sure if it'd be playable.
But it says like their paths are intertwined and things like that, so it sounds like there's like you can there's like
maybe
you can maybe play as her, and like the story arcs are gonna like branch together, like
maybe diverge
together. So I can see that.
That'd be
definitely.
I mean, well, actually, you make a good point there, because pretty much like both the Wolfenstein games had like branching paths.
Yeah.
And like different selections you can make to like incentivize replayability.
Right.
So does make you wonder whether they're gonna have like some missions be like, hey, do you want to play as Indy? Do you want to play as this other character? Like like. That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Or at least just like, oh, hey, do you want to go to the left? Do you want to go to the right?
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
So I think this was a great game to close on. I think it has people very excited. I think the reaction was very, very positive. I think people this I feel like this game might be their marquee game of the year, not Hellblade 2. I feel like this feels like the game 100%. The most hype.
If it's I mean, like, if this is going to be like their big fall game, I definitely think so. I see it like being like October, November release. I definitely see them making this their big release for the year. And I'll say this as well, like, even just over the past few days, I've seen like a lot of like posts from like Xbox fanboys, and like it's like, oh, look at all the games that like Xbox has brought out this year, all the Xbox IPs, and like they're showing games like Diablo 4 and COD Modern Warfare 3, and like all the games that they've just like acquired through osmosis, like all they've put out through osmosis by just acquiring Activision Blizzard and Bethesda and all that. And it's like I've been like fairly critical, because I'm like, a lot of the games aren't real, like they're not like Microsoft IPs. They're not anything. It's like it feels like they just kind of swooped in at the last moment and swept up all the credit for making them exclusive and whatnot. So I was kind of critical to the point of like it's like Xbox has been really not putting out a great deal or like a great deal of quality this generation so far.
Yeah, I think
this.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say that this direct, even just with Avowed and Indiana Jones, completely made me do a 180, and it's like, okay, it looks like Microsoft and Xbox are finally here to play. Basically, they're here to get shit done. Even though still again, technically these are their first party games, yes, because they've acquired them, but I'm assuming they were both in development before the acquisition, but I feel like they've been in the oven long enough to the point where, as I said earlier, it doesn't feel like they just kind of swooped in at the last moment and took all the credit. Like it feels, these feel like
they built these games.
Both
up.
The games feel like 100%. They helped build these games up. It feels like these are games that like more category. They're Xbox exclusives. These are the games Xbox wants to be putting out.
That's
to
why
compete with Sony and stuff.
Which is why I've seen a lot of fanboys and regular Xbox fans be upset on Twitter and stuff and forums that Xbox is putting all their games everywhere. They're like, we're finally fighting back, and we have our own exclusives that are awesome, and now you're deciding to put them all on every platform. So like people were upset about that. But the irony of this show for me personally, even though it doesn't really matter, is that I'm gonna get all these games on Steam and not on Xbox or like Game Pass or like this. To me, this is the PC game show. It's not the Xbox game show. I don't really, you know what I mean? I didn't care because
there's a lot less drinking.
That's what I realized. I'm like, now that I'm a full-on PC gamer and I'm buying things on Steam, I'm realizing like this is not like the Xbox is not the other show anymore. It's like now this is like the main show for my main platform. Like it's like, and then if PlayStation starts putting all their games on PC as well, which seems like they're getting in that direction as well. It's like I'm like it feels like a good time to start investing in PC gaming. Because remember, only a decade ago, people were saying PC gaming was dying and it was almost dead, and consoles were gonna. that was because PC gaming.
Look back and laugh now.
Yeah, because PC gaming was doing horrible. I remember those days. Steam wasn't what it was. Now it's obviously like a monopoly, basically, of the PC market.
Well, I mean, it also didn't help that like back then, just developers and publishers didn't put much thought into PC ports and kind of established a rough reputation with like console to PC ports essentially.
Yep. So, but I think the consoles are not going anywhere. I don't think we're heading in that direction.
Like probably biggest shift is just going to be away from media. That's just like probably the more immediate shift or concern that's going to happen. Really. Yeah.
So, that's it. That's all our topics for the night. Next week is, I ain't gonna lie, very dry. So we're gonna so it's probably gonna be one of our shorter side. It's gonna be on the shorter side.
We're gonna be playing like fucking video game hopscotch at one point. Y'all aren't gonna want to miss it because we're really gonna vamp for time.
I don't want to force anything.
I will in all likelihood be talking the new Yakuza game, but if it gets mid reviews, obviously I won't, but I don't expect that to happen. If it gets 8s and 9s, I mean, I'm there. If it gets 7s and 8s, I'm unsure, and if even just gets 8s across the board, I'm probably there, because for me, it's probably going to be
I'm quite confident it will get an 84 or 85, at least.
Yeah, and that's fine for me. I don't need it to be like in the 90s.
And that's pretty much the only big game besides Tekken 8, but Tekken 8 I'm not getting day one. So
I don't really do fighting games, so
so next week's gonna be next week it's gonna be very Yakuza based, and maybe we'll do a discussion topic, and we get out of here. So I don't want to force like a 2-hour topic on a dry week. So a 2-hour show on a dry week. So that's it. You all have a good night. Thanks for joining me, and peace.
Quick, everybody, name a video game, and that's the whole podcast. Just name every single video game you know.